guys, and we're racing.
The Hightower pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4.
This win, it's
big slide.
It's time to go racing at GRIDLIFE Midwest. Hill side by side. O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes to lead. 3 wide for the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
GRIDLIFE Touring Cup returns to Pikes Peak International Raceway for the 4th time. Welcome back to GRIDLIFE Alpine Horizon and GLTC Race number 1 of 4 for the weekend. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Jared Deanda. Jared, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
First time you sitting alongside me for a race.
Yeah, man, super excited. We saw some great qualifying, but it's kind of now is when things really unfold. Excited to see this track and excited to be sitting next to you, man. You do such a great job. Really excited to see the talent we see on track.
12 to 15 minutes is the race distance. It's going to be happening in just about 5 minutes. Let's take a quick look at our eBay Motors track preview and get a sense of where the drivers are going around this 9-turn, 1.3-mile road course. It all starts with a run down the front straightaway into NASCAR Turn 1, a very fast, high-banked oval turn. Essentially, this track is a 1-mile oval with a road course in the middle of it. So you head down to Turn 2 into the kink, on the brakes hard into the infield section. We're going to see some drift later, Jared, but This is very, very tight, big, tall curbs to climb over.
I liked what you said. Oval plus the road course, that's a roval. We see it in NASCAR. We see it in multiple different disciplines. But, again, this track has been utilized for IndyCar, but there are some points that I think are really interesting. That big bank and where cars are going to shine. The heavier cars compared to the lighter, more nimble cars. Overall, you really got to bring all your weapons to this fight.
Certainly, and this racetrack, again, we talked about it in qualifying. It's a non-traditional circuit. Typically, we're racing on large road courses with more corners, more opportunities to pass, more downforce. A lot of these cars are built with big splitters, big wings, things that stick the car to the road. Well, first of all, we're at altitude. The air isn't as thick down or up here, and the corners are a lot slower.
Yeah.
But
it's exciting to see what happens here, and there's some drivers that are really dominant over others, even coming to this pretty much locking up the championship with only 1 round to go. How has this season unfolded, and how important is this race for the entirety of the field and the most vehicles we've seen this season?
Yeah, it is the most vehicles we've ever seen at this racetrack. We've had a field of 55 before. Let's go down to Cerise Taylor in the pits real quick. We'll be right back with that.
What's up, guys? Cerise with GRIDLIFE. I'm here with Brian Hightower. Brian, you are here with your 370Z you drive for Forsberg Racing. Last year, you took home 2 wins. Do you think you'll be able to pull that off again?
Based on qualifying, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a challenge today. We made a couple of tweaks to the car, so let's see if we can move forward during the race. But the front 2 guys were pretty clear of the field in qualifying, so I think they're going to have a good battle, and it'll be a battle between me and Eric Jensen for 3rd.
Fantastic. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cerise. And so that was Brian Hightower again. Won 2 races here last year. I'm really expecting him to be a factor in this race in particular. So looking at our starting lineup, which we'll show you on screen in a couple of minutes, Brian's going to start in row number 2 in 4th place. But we talked earlier about how pole sitter Tom O'Gorman, his car isn't really suited for the altitude here. So I think Jeremy Swenson, Eric Jensen, Brian Hightower, those 3 will be clawing at Tomo through the first couple corners.
Yeah, Tom O. Well, the O signifies the target that's on his back. And just with such a dominant performance earlier in qualifying, like you said, when push comes to shove, that's literally what's going to happen. I love the format over here. And if you can't explain it, because you say 12 to 15 minutes, somewhere in between that, you're going to see checkered flag. And really, as you said earlier about strategy, efficiency, and again, utilize those consumables, either brakes or tires.
You brought up earlier, about this place in the season. We talked about Tom. He's got 5 perfect weekends. He's really just here to prevent other people from getting points. But this is the penultimate round. We have 1 more points round at Heartland Park in October. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty in the championship. Jeremy Swenson and Andy Smedegard in particular still have a score to settle. And Eric Jensen and others have points that they can grab here. Zach Lavoie, too. There's a lot of shuffling that can happen in really 2nd through 7th in the championship. So keep your eyes on the ASM cars outside of Tomo and on drivers like Jeremy Swenson who are trying to repeat their 2021 championship that he won over Eric Catil. It's a tall task with Tomo and how solid that ASM crew has been. But let's hear from one of the drivers that's a hometown hero here, Savannah Little's on pit lane with Cerise.
All right, guys, I'm here with Savannah Little. Savannah is in her Mazda Miata. This is her home track. Last time you drove GLTC, you were in a 350Z. Now that you're back in the Miata, what have you been able to do to the car in order to get it ready for this GLTC race?
We actually just got it running about a week ago, so it was kind of a Hail Mary to even make it to this event, but we're just stoked to be out here. We unfortunately did have to go back to a stock engine, just a 2.5 liter, which doesn't make quite enough power. We're down about 50 horsepower, but the car handles super, super well. So on the infield section, I actually have a chance at having a good battle with some of the drivers out here. On the bank, I'm kind of just along for the draft and the ride, but honestly, I'm just looking forward to some really good, clean racing that I can always look forward to in GLTC, because it's always a party out here. Even back here toward the back of the grid, we still have a good time.
That's what it's all about. All right, best of luck out there. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Cerise, and getting prepped for our first race here in just a couple of moments. Again, 4 races on the weekend, Jared. Let's talk a little bit about the format of the weekend. We mentioned earlier that race 1 sets the grid order for race 2, but by fastest lap time. So if you're not in the front, the goal is to just run a quick lap and get yourself out front. One driver that will probably be doing that is Nick Stennifer, DQ'd in qualifying for being underweight.
Ooh.
So his goal, I think, should be lay back, let everyone go, give up the points in this race,
right,
and just run a flying lap and set yourself up towards the front.
Oh, that's a really interesting approach, right? Because with earlier qualifying, now going to that, and you talk about the 3rd race because that sets it up. But then the 4th race is really interesting because you kind of do a reverse. So talk about that a little bit.
So race 4 is a field invert from the race finishing position in race 3, but we don't invert the entire field. We do somewhere between 9 and 14, depending on the weekend, and that's a random number, a random draw that happens after race 3 is done, so you can't plan for it. It's a lot of fun. Cars rolling on the racetrack now. They're going to get 2 pace laps around here behind one of our 4 safety cars here this weekend. That is an Instagram vote. To decide who gets to have their safety.
Is the pace?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a competition. Well, basically, it's not really a vote. You submit your car to GRIDLIFE on our Instagram, and then basically Mike Cohn and some of our content team, they basically pick the 4 coolest ones.
There we go. There we are, seeing the eye in the sky, and as you say, a couple get the pace lap going. Talking about that big bank there, you can see that tunnel passing through right there. Talk about how the track is going to transform, because as you say, row 1, you get 2 cars. 2, they're going to be bunched up, but over that, on that big bank, over that bridge, or that tunnel, I should say, the track is transforming.
Certainly, the track is sagging a little bit over that tunnel. Jeremy Swenson said it's really sketchy, and he doesn't really want to be side by side with somebody. Here's your starting lineup. Tom O'Gorman starts on the front row alongside Jeremy Swenson in the 01 Viking Performance Corvette. Eric Jensen rolls off in row number 2 alongside Brian Heitkotter from Forsberg Racing. In row number 3, starting on the inside, is Andy Smedegaard, 3rd in points coming into the weekend in that number 212. Joel Morrison returns to GLTC competition on the outside of row number 3. Row 4, Jackson Jensen Maverick starts in 7th. Zach Lavoie rolls off 8th in his number 42 S2000. Row number 5 is Michael Hilo in the 2008 Nissan 350Z, number 224. And Felipe Gonzalez from Myriad Motorsports starts in 10th in his 2000 Honda S2000. Wes Case starts in 11th in his 02 M3. And Robert Vierhout in the number 95. Been a while since he's run GLTC, all the way back October of last year at Road America. Fiona Liu and Jeremy Boysen share row number 7. Boysen again in that brand new Porsche Cayman. This is its first race ever here today. Hans Horpedal from Myriad Motorsports starts in 15th place. Tyler Starr starts 16th in the number 36 K-Swap BRZ. Jake Jorenstad starts in 17th alongside Julio Crispin in the number 911 2007 Nissan 350Z. And row 10, Savannah Little, we just heard from, and Adam Wood in his first ever GLTC race starts in 20th. Row number 11, starting in 21st place, Brandon Peterson in his first ever GLTC race. Jacob Poole in his second ever GLTC event starts in 22nd. Row 12 is Troy Castile, who ran with us a couple of years ago in an Audi here at PPIR. Tonight in an BMW 330 alongside Colton Wade in a 2002 Acura RSX. Now, Colton had a gold M3 that he had here competing, had a pedal box issue. Good news is Fields Auto Works had that Acura RSX on the trailer. It's already tuned for GLTC.
That's great.
Just grab the backup car and head back out.
Yeah, why not, right? So we can see, again, that eye in the sky, getting prepped here. Conditions weather-wise starting to heat up, a little bit of breeze. We saw heavy winds this morning. It's calmed down a little bit. But as far as air density, again, elevation, as you said, the mile-high race in the sky. And there we are seeing that 94. And that's somebody who is just, again, really dominant, trying to just kind of get wide. And as you say, in that start, he could get challenged really quick. Tomo out front.
So they're going to double up here as soon as they hit the back straightaway. This is turn 3 we're looking at now. Entering turn 4 on the right-hander on the infield is where we're going to start seeing them rack up and stack up. We've got 12 rows of cars, 13 actually this time through. And when they come around the banking corner up onto the front straightaway, they're waiting on the flag. The green flag means go. You can pass as soon as that green flag is displayed. There's the safety car going to make the hard left onto pit lane this time through. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, a mile high in the sky at Pikes Peak International Raceway for the 4th time. They're awaiting a green flag. at PPIR. 15 minutes, just about.
Boom.
Green flag, we're racing at PPIR. 3 already, 4 wide down the front straightaway as they head into turn 1 up high against the outside wall. Is that Jeremy Swenson in the purple Viking Performance Corvette? We're still 3 wide in the banking. Are we still 4 wide? Yes, we are for 5th place.
That's almost 5 wide there. Look at that third row. 5 there. I mean, they're doing the flying V right now, but Swenson gets out front. Tomo there in second, and Highcutter jumps up to third, and that's what you're talking about. You know, he was the fastest in practice, but when push came to shove in qualifying, he held that 4th spot, but he does gain another position. Highcutter.
Oh, look at Swenson. Wow, a drive off turn number 3 for Swenson. Grabs the lead away from Tom O'Gorman. Swenson hasn't won a race since Circuit of the Americas in February. It has been driving him mad.
Well,
He's trying so hard right now.
And you talked about this earlier. Sorry to cut you off, but speaking of cutting off, he caught off Tomo there, which, you know, you talked about, you know, that's a big purple people eater of a machine compared to the nimble S2000, but he got him through those turns and through that chicane.
Highcutter under fire from Eric Jensen. They battled door-to-door last season here a ton. Look at them, 3 wide off of turn number 8. That was very tight and dicey as they come across lap 1. Swenson leads.
Swenson, this is where he's really going to flex. You got that big wide open. He talked about how sketchy it is on that bank. Right here is where they dip. You can see the actual rubber and you can see the rubber being laid or lack thereof when they go into that dip. But Swenson looks strong. Highcutter definitely needs to gain some ground, almost 1.5 seconds behind our leader.
Yeah, Swenson stretching a gap, but look at the brakes. Look how much Tom closes in the braking zone, trying to run the long way around. Highcutter sees these two battling. He wants in.
All right, remember, Swenson, this is not drifting right now. This is GLTC, so you're going to need to keep it where the rubber meets the road, and no style points here at all. Tomo goes in, and he dives in, but Swenson, again, gets wide, throws the elbows out.
Look at this, through the infield section now, turns 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Tom's car much better in the infield section, drifts out a little wide. Does he have a dive into turn 8 and 9?
Boy.
He's to the inside, battle for the lead in GLTC.
But watch, here's Swenson going high, and he's going to pour it on.
Full throttle down. Again, there's about 600 pounds of difference between these cars, but it's all about that power-to-weight formula. Jackson Jensen and Joel Morrison, they were door-to-door for a moment, but there's where the V8 wins you the race, Jared, but still a long way to go.
Smedegaard jumps up. He was down in 6th. He gets past Morrison, and he jumps up to 5th position. What is Highcutter's strategy in your mind, Kyle? Again, you can only tell the future by looking at the past. What is Highcutter going to do, or what do you think he has to do to get in front of Swenson and Tomo?
Big, heavy car. You have to keep the rear tires under you. I saw a big slide out of turn 9 trying to get the power down. It's just going to heat up those tires. It'll be an angry car after about 4 or 5 laps. So keep the tires under you. Focus ahead. Don't overdrive. It's a short race, yes, but you can make the tires mad even quicker.
All right, so Swenson there. Tomo just chomping at the bit, and you got to think just this S2000, you know who is behind you. Swenson maybe feeling a little bit nervous, but he's just got to race his own race, get wide, and then again, here we go. Look at Tomo trying to dive in on that rumble strip, and Swenson just holds him off.
Yeah, Jeremy had a big bobble at 9, and it let Tom sneak underneath again, but Tom's not going to win this race down the front stretch. He's got to focus on the infield section, but look at Highcutter losing ground. He's got Jensen tucked in behind him. Eric, son Jackson, has fallen a couple spots back to 7th, but those 3 drivers are still within striking distance if those front 2 start to battle.
And this is where, as you said, the consumables, more importantly, the tires, the brakes, with it, you know, being high speed, but then it getting technical and tightening up, that's where it's going to get interesting for Swenson. He doesn't want to be on it. And Tomo's done such a good job of kind of consistency. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Even though this is a short race in itself, you got to think strategy-wise and make sure you have enough tire and have enough brakes.
That time, Jeremy gained a lot on the banking. Tom falling back just a little bit. Some good battles deeper in the field. There's Smedegaard holding off Joel Morrison. How about Zach Lavoie? And I think that was, who was that back there? Was that Jackson Jensen potentially battling him? There was a good fight
Jensen Lavoie, yeah, right here, about 0.2 seconds off of each other.
Oh, again, through turn 8 and 9.
Oh, he is just flirting with that rumble strip. Do you think that's the fastest line? I mean, especially through there. I mean, it seems like he's taking the title line. That's his strength.
You've got to maximize your exit speed for Tom. Again, he doesn't have the power to carry it onto the straightaway. So hook that curb. Do everything you can in your power. I just don't think he's going to win that drag race down the front stretch. So he has to make the pass. If he can complete the pass, he might get him. Look, he's trying a different line now, trying to avoid that bump a little higher up the road.
All right, so Highcutter loses some more ground, and look at that. He does gain some ground over 4th place position. Jensen, Smedegaard back there quite a bit of distance. Oh, look at Swenson getting loose.
Yeah, he's really struggling with that rear tire grip, but he has done a good job so far of holding off O'Gorman. Typically in the past, Swenson's car would kind of die later in the race, but right now it's looking very strong. There's Smedegaard and Morrison door to door heading into turn 4 here. Here they go side by side, and Smedegaard's got the shorter way around. Hilo chasing Jensen. That's Jackson, Maverick in the silver Corvette. There's Boysen, West Case, but look at this, side by side in the infield. I love this place.
Ooh, look at Smedegaard diving in. Well done, but look, they are exchanging, hopefully not paint. Again, we talked about the 9 lives, the multiple different engine swaps we've seen, and Smedegaard comes out on top.
Crossover, though. Smedegaard slips, and here comes Morrison back to the inside now. Joel's nursing an injured shoulder that he's had the last couple of months, and he's putting it to work right now.
Look at Smedegaard kind of diving down, shots fired across the nose, but look at that, comes out. Taking that low line, is that the wise approach?
Big bump there, middle of the corner. You see the car slam
Yep.
onto the ground. 2 very different S2000s. One's a V6, one's a K24. Now down the backstretch, though, into turn 3. Who's got better brakes?
Right, that turn 2. It's not a hairpin, essentially, but it's just kind of a tighter turn compared to some of the others as they go into the infield.
Smedegaard's got it for now, but Morrison still keeping the pressure on again. The V6 power that's in the green and black car, that's going to help him on the straightaways. You saw very similar dynamic between those 2 cars and the cars that are out front, Swenson and O'Gorman. It's about a half second between the 2 leaders as we watch this battle mid-pack.
Heitkotter, who was the fastest there, again, we talked about it in practice, but Tomo, he is, you could see he was, up to kind of 2 seconds, now all the way down to 3 seconds behind our leader of Swenson. So 2.5 seconds behind O'Gorman.
Across the start-finish line, about 5 minutes remaining here, and the gap slightly increased that time for Jeremy out front. Remember, he has not won a race since February of this year. Last year, he won 9 races en route to a championship. He is definitely due for a win this weekend. There's Morrison chasing Smedegaard through the bankings. Similar lines that time through. We go back to the battle up front. Big slide from the rear. I don't like that.
No, you don't like it. What do you think he's saying? He's got a spot on his ear saying, that's what I was talking about. Tom, somebody's going off.
That's Savannah Little over at the exit of turn 3. Now, she is doing exactly what was expected in the driver's meeting. If you have an issue, a mechanical problem,
Park it.
Pull off in the turn 3 and 4 of the NASCAR area because no cars are going to go over there. We can get a tow truck out and go retrieve that car without having to stop the race. Great work on Savannah's part. Unfortunate to have her race be stopped. How about Steniford, though, chasing this man, Jeremy Boysen, in the brand-new Porsche Cayman build. Steniford started tail of the field, and he's working his way through now.
That Cayman sounds mean. I was walking over here to the booth and just walking through the pits. The car sounds mean. It sounds aggressive. Love the livery. I think overall, I'm always a sucker for white cars, so why not throw a little white and black 101 Dalmatians here. But that S2000 coming in on that inside line. Can he get him?
Got an overlap here as they head down the front stretch. That Cayman is going to be a rocket down the straightaway, though, and there you see, looks like Boysen will take that position for now. That is all a battle just outside of the top 10 as we work our way towards the end of this race. 4 minutes remaining. The leader's still very close. But again, I think O'Gorman has to complete a pass in the infield if he really wants a shot. It's not going to be a drag race to the line. If it is, Swenson will win it.
Yeah, but watch Swenson here again. We talked about, I don't like that. He doesn't like it. As he gets loose, you know who's just drooling right now? Tom O'Gorman. He is absolutely just all over him, and this is what he wants. You keep pushing enough, Swenson might over-rotate, might get loose, lose that time, and every little inch, you got to imagine why Tomo is leading in points. Strategy, strategy, strategy.
Yeah, Tom took a really wide line through turn 9, and it carried some speed. He's in the slipstream now, drafting off of that big Corvette. It's got a lot of rear surface area, pushing that air out of the way. And with under 3 minutes to go, Tom's really going to have to get up there. He's getting closer and closer every lap in the infield. Turn 9, as Jeremy sweeps over to the right to enter the corner, Tom's been sticking the nose in there. If he can just get alongside and clear the 30, I think he's got a great shot at winning this race.
Well, you got to think, with the clock ticking, again, 12 to 15 minutes, that's a vicinity. We have at least 3 laps left. Tomo has 3 opportunities, but do the math. How many turns, 3 minutes, where we're going to land, where we're going to see the checkered flag. That is TBD to see that checkered flag, but I will tell you that Heitkotter, there's just too much distance between him and second and first.
Some lap traffic ahead, too, and we'll definitely get into it in the next lap or two. That's going to throw a huge wrench into things for Swenson as they roll through turn 8 and 9. The battle for third is heating up behind them as well. Heitkotter and Jensen. Heitkotter, that's Swenson and O'Gorman as they sweep through 8 and 9. But again, Tomo continues to get closer and closer.
Loving this race. What were your expectations here at this track? You know, again, you can only tell the future by looking at the past. Did you imagine it being this kind of loose? I thought it'd be a little tighter.
Up front, it's always extremely tight,
Right,
but the
of course.
field spreads out quite a bit here. It's a short racetrack, but it definitely favors certain cars versus others. Past lap
Lappers.
traffic. Wow, that was a quick blitz by the traffic for Jeremy, and here comes Tom right to the rear bumper. He's very, very close. He just needs to maximize the braking in turn 4.
Yeah, give him a late break at some point, and Tom O'Gorman could catch that inside line, but Swenson's going to try to hold him off. Again, you can see him just getting all of that rumble strip. Tom O'Gorman almost tucking into his exhaust pipe. Swenson holds a position, uses all that rumble strip, red, white, and black. That's what they are right now.
This is exhilarating.
Ooh,
Here's
there
Tom
he goes.
Underneath.
Can he get him?
Got a little overlap. Here he comes. Side by side for the lead. 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. Swenson slips up, and Tomo, trying to drag race, pulls down to the inside. White flag this time through. 1 lap to go here from PPIR.
Yeah, you talked about it. You know, if it's a drag race, Swenson's going to win every time. But Tom O'Gorman needs a tiptoe, little ballet, rock and roll ballet for that checkered flag. So the white flag is out. They will end on that 12-minute vicinity. Because, again, do the math. 1 minute for that lap. Can he get him? He needs his strike, but also keep the car together. Not only is this event kind of short and concise, but the whole weekend is a marathon.
Jeremy Swenson, again, winless since February. He is trying to do something he has not done in months. If he could hold off O'Gorman, not only would it be a sign that Swenson is back for the championship hunt, it would be a personal victory, way bigger than the one at COTA when he had just won races previously. This is what it's all about. Jeremy through the infield for the final time. Tom is close, but I don't know if he's going to get there. Here he comes up the inside one final time. Here he comes, side-by-side drag race to the line. This one should be Jeremy's. They're door-to-door as they come out of turn number 9. Jeremy Swenson and Tom O'Gorman, checkered flag waving, drag race to the line, and Jeremy Swenson, for the first time since February, is victorious in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup.
Really well done there by Swenson. O'Gorman gets second. We still got to fight there for the 9-11. That's back there in the back of the pack.
Julio Crispin and Hans Horpedal door-to-door 350Z versus S2000. Hans clears the number 911 350. Great battle there even this late in the race.
Heitkotter looks like he's going to come in for third place. Jensen sitting in fourth. Smedegaard coming in fifth. So overall, some interesting racing. How does that work as far as points-wise? What's at stake here? Are trophies given out at this point, or is it the entirety of the day, the weekend? How's that look?
Trophies are given out at the end of the weekend. Each race is worth 25 points for the winner, 21 for second, 18 for third, then 16, 15, 14, all the way down to 20th.
Right.
And for Jeremy, the points value is what he's focusing on. Tom can't earn any more points. He's used all his drops. Jeremy can only gain at this point, and he's doing just that. I should also mention, if we could get a shot of Jeremy driving around the racetrack right now, he told me a couple months ago, kind of jokingly, that if I ever win another GLTC race, I'm going to start holding up 3 fingers in honor of my dad. So basically, the 3 was his race number. Back in the old days, they didn't have any money, but he would race at the county fairs with $100 kind of junk cars on dirt. So that's where Jeremy kind of hails from, and really, really cool to see Jeremy get one done. I thought that I jinxed him when we had this conversation because since then he has not won. Let's have a look at the results real quick from this race. Jeremy Swenson on top of the world after this one. There he is. Jeremy Swenson from Viking Performance gets it done. Tom O'Gorman, second place. Heitkotter snags a podium for the first time since, I think, been a couple months at least.
Yeah.
Wasn't on the podium at Midwest. Then Jensen, Smedegaard, Morrison, Lavoie, Michael Hilo a top 10. Jackson Jensen, Felipe Gonzalez round out your top 10. Jeremy Boyes in 12th place for his first ever run in that Cayman here in GLTC, at least in its current form. And how about Nick Steniford climbing up 10 spots after that disqualification in qualifying for being underweight? That car now legal. Gained 10 spots. That's a great climb.
I love it. Now legal. Overall, is this what you expected?
I think this was better than I expected, to be totally honest. I
good.
think we had a great, compelling fight up towards the front. I think Heitkotter's actually got a piece of his bumper hanging off of the car. So I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I'm not sure if it was contact or if it was tire rubbing, but Heitkotter's got that left corner of the bumper kind of hanging off. So I wonder if there was some argy-bargy there.
Argy-bargy?
That's what Calvin Fish says.
All right, there it is. So as we get that view over there, we have an action-filled day there, but Swenson down there.
Yeah, Swenson's down in pit lane with Cerise.
What's up, guys? I'm here with Jeremy Swenson. Jeremy just came in first in GLTC. Jeremy, this track seems like it is set up for a Corvette. Tell me a little bit about how the car and you were feeling out there.
I think it's pretty clear to see what was going on. I set this car up to be as fast as I can make it in a straight line, knowing that's a huge advantage here. We're wide open for half the lap, and you could see, like, I'd pull away from Tom there, and he's all over me in the corners, and this thing makes no grip here, so it's a good thing I had some horsepower to make up for it.
Great job. Awesome. Thanks.
And thanks, Cerise. And again, for Jeremy, that was a monumental victory. I think, I'm surprised. The emotion hasn't hit him just yet, Jared. I know how much effort he puts into it. I think later he's going to feel that one. It's going to be special.
Everybody holds up 3 doing it for Dale, but he's doing it for Dad, which is really cool. And like
really
you
cool.
said, you didn't curse him. He surpassed that. The Viking Corvette, obviously a dominant force here. As far as today's lay of the land, we got track battle. We got drift at 4 to 4:30. GLTC Race 2 goes down 4:30 to 5. Of course, we got drift at 7:30 to 8, and the night shift drift with the lasers, the drift cars, all that going down at 8:50. And we have some amazing acts here. Wavoka, Harper, Cliff Diver, Avoid, Xavier Wolf, City Morgue, and Trippy Red closing out the evening. That's just day one.
It's a great lineup, Jared.
Woo. Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Send it. Yeah.
Well,
thanks you so much.
Thanks for joining me for GLTC Race 1. We'll be back in just a couple minutes for Track Battle Group A. We'll be right back. Coverage of GridLife Alpine Horizon is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GridLife, and by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. Falcon Tires, the Falcon Azenis RT660 is the official tire of Club TR. And K&N, Performance Unlimited. For Ferris Cartoony, 183, and sets a blistering new track record. Back live at Alpine Horizon for GridLife Track Battle Group A at Pikes Peak International Raceway. Cars on track now. And Abe, earlier this morning, we kind of missed the first quick laps of the session, and we had a yellow flag from Alex Moss having some issues on the back straightaway. But Time Attack getting ready to roll again and go for some records.
Through no fault of his own. Course is a little bit brutal, and drivers are going to have to exercise some discretion on which line they take on the circuit over the bump.
Yeah, I think the bump's been a big topic of discussion for the drivers in some of these super fast Time Attack cars. The good news is for a guy like Ferris Cartoumi, he's got downforce to kind of keep the car stuck to the road. The problem is you hit that bump, it'll kind of unsettle it too.
Very much. And I think what we see today here in session number 3 is it's hot, the sun is out, there's not a cloud in the sky. I'm not sure if I could expect cars to go faster here in this session compared to where they were earlier today.
Well, let's have a look at what he has done so far. His best of the weekend so far, a 56.517. We'll see if he can go any quicker, but as you said, the temperature is rising pretty significantly. And here, because there's low humidity and we're at high altitude, it's not so much the ambient temperature that's a problem, it's really the track temperature, right? I mean, you get the sun baking down into the racetrack, it's going to heat it up. The good news is there's some more rubber on the road, and that should help some corner grip as well.
Yeah, I wasn't watching the times during GLTC, but what I saw on track were cars that looked like they were relatively planted compared to perhaps where they were in qualifying and practice earlier today.
Yeah, certainly. And so Ferris is going to be heading down into turn 3 already shortly here as we got the rest of Group A on track. There's Ferris now heading into turn 3. It's a busy racetrack. It's a small racetrack. But here he comes. Big power slide there. I think he's going to be struggling with rear grip no matter what he does.
Absolutely.
So into turns 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, another big counter steer moment there. Not super confident this is going to be a quick lap. I think he knows it too.
I don't think so either. I think he's probably still going to continue to comment that the track doesn't really seem to be rubbered in just yet, even though they've been driving on it all day. So slower now compared to where he was earlier this morning with Robert Thorne advancing there, but Dussault coming in with a 56.3. That puts him.
That would put him fastest of the weekend.
As the overall leader for the weekend.
Yeah, and again, that's Dussault's Camaro. Is that correct?
That's right.
And I don't know if we ever really got a great look at that car, the 571, but certainly it's got to be really well set up to be faster than Khartoumi in any condition. Although Robert Thorne did go quicker as well in his GT2 RS. Ferris still out on track. A little surprised by this. Typically it's a one and done for Ferris.
Yeah, I think it depends on the tires that he chooses. It looks like he was up on the curb there, and it looked like it upset the car. I'm not sure if the tires are warmed up yet, but it looks like he's shut it down here on his way in.
Yeah, so I think at Mid-Ohio he was trialing the Michelin slick tires that you'd see in the IMSA sports car series or something of the sort. They take 5 or 6 laps to really get warm and get sticky. The challenge is his motor really doesn't make it that long before it overheats.
He told me that they had worked really hard on cooling prior to this event, and he could do 4 to 5 hot laps in a row, and the car seemed to be fine as far as temperatures were concerned. So back again on a hot lap very clearly here on his way into turn 2.
Yeah, still a lot of lateral slide in the slower corners. This track is just really not built for this kind of car. It doesn't have those long sweeping corners like a place like Circuit of the Americas where you can really lean on the downforce.
And you can see already that just that one error coming through turn 2 was enough to cause him to shut it down. And he may come around for another attempt, but he's not going to try and go faster in this lap because it's just not possible.
Yep. Here's a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. That's a rare statement for race car drivers, but Robert Thorne is one of them, competes in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup and in Drift. He's a Formula D driver now and is crushing it over there, but TrackBattle Drift GLTC, I think as long as he's running a lap or two in HPDE, he's got all of the above. He's done everything you can do this weekend. Car off the racetrack in the middle of the infield, looks like maybe just pulled off the road, and can't get a good look at the number on the side of that car, but it's a 209. That is Tapia behind the wheel of that car this weekend, and that car has pulled off and is stuck trackside, which is not where you want it to be.
Absolutely not. Trying to find him here on the overhead. Not sure if he's anywhere near the racing line.
No, I think he was inside the infield. I don't think it's Dominic Tapia out of Colorado Springs with Helena Farms team in an 08 Evo. And I think he was pulled off into the center of the infield, so he should be totally fine to stand the rest of the session there. Robert Thorne still nipping away at lap times, a 57.645 for Robert. And there's Cal Fortner in the 14. We talked about this car in the previous session, but Cal's best time of 59.645. And it looks like he's about a second slower. So again, this session doesn't seem to be quite as successful as the first.
You may not hear it coming through on the stream, but that AMG GT sounds probably one of the best cars in the entire field. I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that because when they bought that car, I said V8 AMGs are supposed to be straight piped. And Rich, father of the program, Cal, were like, yeah, you're right. And they showed up at the next event with a straight pipe car, and it sounds terrific.
It does sound the part, and it sounds a lot like those IMSA cars, too, which is really, really neat. We just got to look at, is it Josh Tenge, I believe, in the 246? Name pronunciation might be wrong there. Unlimited all-wheel drive car. It's an Audi TT, and you've liked these cars a lot in the past. We've had a few of these cars, I think, kind of come through Time Attack in the past. TTRSs?
Yeah, I am a huge fan of the newest, latest, and greatest unit with the 5-cylinder turbo and the DSG combination. That car is very, very quick and has, in the right preparation, won one lap of America. Really, really fast lap times out of a car with just some basic modifications.
Yeah, it's one of those really well set up cars from factory. A lot like how, for example, Robert Thorne's Porsche GT2 RS is just a really well sorted car right from factory. You don't really have to do a lot to make them nimble and quick, but Robert Thorne's 57.645. I don't think we'd actually seen him on track. Oh, yes, we had, but he's a little bit slower, about a tenth slower than he was this morning. Here is the 333 of Tony Barber back out on track in the Tesla Model 3. Best time so far this weekend, 1 minute, .805. And again, about half a second to a second off pace for this car as well. Again, I don't think the temperatures are being kind. I don't think the rubber is offsetting the general track temperature.
Definitely not.
So looks like Tony's going to come on into the pit lane and probably plug the thing back into the charger and It's a big old USB-C.
Yeah, there you go. It's a 50 amp USB-C.
Yes. There's a good look at the midway here, the vendor area at the Alpine Horizon Festival at Pikes Peak International Raceway. One of these kind of blank slate racetracks where you show up and you bring all your stuff with you, and you really can turn this into whatever you want to turn it into. And for us, it's festival grounds and a racetrack this weekend. And there is going to be thousands of people here by late afternoon watching all the spectacles and sights to behold here at this racetrack.
So something I think that's remarkable about this circuit is because the laps are short, our conventional run group or run time of 12 to 15 minutes turns into a huge number of laps if you're out there making attempt after attempt. I think what we see currently is the number of cars remaining on track in A is actually not that many.
No, I think the reasoning is again, you're not going to waste tire and waste brakes if you know you're not going to go faster. I think that's part of it. I also think that, with you mentioned you get so many laps in 8 minutes, you can get 7, 8, 9 laps. What's really the point of continuing past that? You're not really going to get faster. Things are going to heat soak. Your tires are going to get hot. It's just not really conducive to running longer and longer and longer. But you get a lot of laps in that short time.
Well, I think we kind of see this competitive strategy within GLTC drivers especially, but in Time Attack there are some drivers as well that maybe use a session, even if it's not faster, to practice a corner or drive it differently, make a setup change here or there, even if they know they're not going to be faster. But when they are really trying to go for it, a driver that, let's say makes an error or doesn't enter a corner the way that they really think that they need to, will have a data system in the car that indicates, you're off pace. And a driver that's smart will cruise the lap down and reset, attempt to go for another one later, rather than burning up the tires trying to make a lap that's not going to be there.
Checkered flag out for Track Battle A. And it looks like Track Battle B will be up next. And this is where we begin to see our Falcon Club TR competitors, which for a lot of the season has been one of the tightest, most competitive classes. And it's a lot of the same players from last year, but I feel like it's even tighter and there's more cars involved this season. I know Grant Davidson has pretty much all but locked up the championship. However, Dana Basinski is here because mathematically he would eliminate himself if he didn't show up. So he showed up just to give himself that chance.
I got a chance to talk with him in the paddock after those early sessions, and there was basically a bet to see if he could break the track record for this race course on his first session. He was not able to do that, and I was talking with him afterwards, and he said, yeah, I think it was a little bit cocky. I didn't put my new tires on. I was trying to do it on old tires, and I just didn't do it.
I think with the track conditions here, I think you got to give yourself the best chance you can with the hot surface temps, the rubber and the marbles, especially once the drift sessions start, which they have already. Once the drift sessions start, you get marbles all over the road and that sort of thing. So, it really doesn't get easier as the weekend goes on. I think really everyone's shooting for those morning sessions to really get the best lap times. But Dana's a good sport about it. I mean, the bet, yes, but also just keep staying out here and competing in Club TR. He's probably going to walk away with a trophy, you hope, at the end of the weekend, at least to commemorate the chance at that.
I would say that there's a really good likelihood of that. And interesting is he expects to run at Heartland Park in a few weeks as well. And last year, he did win that event. He was really, really quick. And that was the first course that we saw the true pace of him and the car. However, if Grant also goes to that event and fails to podium, Dana wins a championship.
Right.
But I don't think Grant has ever failed to podium. So it's really just up in the air at this point.
I think, maybe he's never failed a podium, but there's always the chance, not wishing any bad mojo on anybody, but there's always the chance that something breaks early in the weekend and you can't fix it, and that could totally throw everything up in the air.
That's true, but if your lap number 1 is good,
right?
That's all you need.
That's true. So that's the challenge of Time Attack. You go back to, all the effort that you put in, all the time and the hours, it all comes down to one lap. It can be the first lap of your weekend, be the last lap of your weekend, but you could run 47 laps here this weekend, and only one of them counts for your points, so you really have to make it count.
And it really needs to be strategic, because when the weather's really not strategically smart to go for a fast lap, you try to save yourself, save your car for the next morning. Weather's cool, track will probably be in better shape, and that'll be the best chance, because as the competitive field gets progressively faster, it takes that much more work to even get close to what the old records were.
So how do you kind of balance not going out, not using tires, not using brakes, but also learning the racetrack if it's a place you've never been to before. Like, how much are you willing to drive and use up your stuff versus, maybe not learn how to find the limit in your particular car at that particular track? Is that a consideration, or are these guys all good enough that they're showing up and 5 laps in they figured it out?
I think it depends on where you are in the field. Specifically because if you are the caliber of driver where you can consistently run lap after lap with no mistakes and run a relatively high speed, you're probably going to need to take some chances and make some adjustments, try some things to see if you can pick up some time. But going out and running the same motions over and over and over for 50 laps probably won't help you out.
Here's Daniel Moore behind the wheel of his Honda Civic, and that's a really neat-looking car. Here's Mike Coons again. Now, this 310 had a bit of an issue at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We talked about it a little earlier, but glad to have him back on track. And this is really a Subaru country up here. There's a whole lot of them on the entry list. And also, if you're here at the racetrack, there also is rally going on outside of the racetrack. If you head through the pedestrian tunnel towards NASCAR 3 and 4, if you go under that tunnel and take a left, there's a whole rally area where you can go watch off-road competition, and that's a lot of fun. I've actually never gotten the chance to go see it in person. I'm a little jealous, but that is real Subaru country up there. And if you're a Subi guy, you should go check that out because there's a lot to watch. But on the time attack, there's a great look at it there, Abe. Look at that. That's spectacular.
That looks fantastic.
And I really wish, and I know Magic, who's behind all this this weekend, would love to get some cameras out there and shoot some of this rally stuff. I think it'd be a great addition, but there's a lot of logistic problems with getting out there when so much of the infrastructure is based inside the Roval here.
Absolutely. So we see Dana Baczynski here at a 104.7, a little bit off pace relative to Peter Granberg. Granberg running quickly.
And I wonder, again, they're kind of a similar build here, right? They're both K-swap twin chassis. One's they're both BRZs, and Granberg's has kind of got more K-power parts into Baczynski's is a lot more self-built with ASM behind a lot of that as well. So they're similar cars in terms of their intention. And right now they're really close to each other on the racetrack, but Granberg really doing a good job here.
Yeah,
with this car.
Granberg's been running with us for a few years now, but I think this year especially with the engine swap and kind of the commitment to the build of the car to the rules of Club TR, Granberg's really coming to his own. Yeah. He podiumed at Lime Rock, which I think was a first for him in a competitive field.
I think he got a Midwest, too. I think he got a third there.
Wow.
Back at Midwest, which was a big moment for him because that was, I think, the first event that car had ever run was at Midwest Fest. So it really has been a big pickup in pace for him. How about Tomerlin, by the way, in the NSX, jumping up to second in the overall grid. Steve Luca in Street GT, which is sort of an underrepresented category here this weekend, I feel. It's a category that's really built for, mostly cars like American Muscle. You got the cars like the Supra that fit right in, but only 4 of those cars here this weekend, which is a little bit of a disappointment.
Well, it's also interesting because some of the other events this year have had a relatively large number of cars, more than a dozen at some events. I think we just left Lime Rock Park where we had quite a few cars in Street GT.
Yeah, one of the sort of internal classes here at GRIDLIFE. There are a handful of classes that were sort of designed to help cars from other series fit into our rule sets without a whole lot of modification. And then there are classes that were designed and built from the ground up within GRIDLIFE. Classes like Club TR, Street GT, and Sunday Cup, which have tended to be the really popular classes. I think you look at Club TR, it's certainly one of the most popular time attack classes now. I think the same can be said for Sunday Cup. And then you throw Street GT in there, there's a bit more consumables involved with that versus some of the other categories, but a really cool class that you don't have to destroy your car to run in it.
Absolutely. And it's been really interesting. I've been involved now with the competition side of GRIDLIFE since 2017, and it's been remarkable to see the progression of, let's call them legacy classes, the ones that are historically time attack, versus the ones that were basically built, in this case, by Adam and I mostly, and to see the people kind of jump in with both feet into those classes has been really exciting and rewarding for us.
Here's Steve Luca in that Street GT number 350. There was a great battle between Luca and Cody Hunt back at Lime Rock Park. I think Cody ended up coming out on top there. Cody in a C7 Grand Sport Corvette, but that is really the true classic American battle. Is Mustang versus Camaro, Mustang versus Corvette, all those American muscle cars But there was a great scrap at Lime Rock, only separated by tenths of a second for most of the weekend. But this weekend, Luca looking really solid. Behind him in the 59 car is Vincent Miller in that 2022 Chevrolet Camaro. And that car is only about a second off, maybe a little less than Steve Luca. So we'll see if Miller can creep up on that 350. Daniel Moore again in street modified in the 228, up to 4th overall here in a 102.794. Watching Luca slow the car down and get onto the binders for turn 3. Granberg, Drew Cleaver, and Fez Bobber in the GR86. We documented the off-track excursions this morning. Had a wild ride. There were some great screenshots of that getting shared around. It was just fun because he had all 4 tires up off the ground, getting the most out of the racetrack, that's for sure.
It's a little bit like watching the cars come over the jump at Lime Rock.
A lot like that.
A little bit underneath. Some years ago, we ran at Summit Point Shenandoah Circuit, and there was a notable jump there as well. And one of our TA drivers, Alex Arteat, that was his first event, and he had a number of photos with all 4 wheels in the air before he landed back on the circuit.
Amazing. By the way, Miller in that 59 car jumps up to 2nd overall and only 4/10 off of Steve Luca. So we might have, there he is, by the way, we might have a street GT battle on our hands here this weekend.
Really interesting.
And this car, again, it's from a modification standpoint, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Not a lot that you can do, and that's kind of the design of the class. And I think of the 3 kind of internal GRIDLIFE classes that we mentioned, I think Street GT and Sunday Cup you can't really do a lot. In contrast, Falcon Club TR, you can do a lot of things as Steve Luca comes to a stop down at turn number 3.
Perhaps missed the brake zone there. I will see.
Yeah, you're kind of enter turn 2. It's that kink before you turn. It's the kink into the infield. And as you turn in, I'm sure, especially when you're doing 130, 140 miles an hour, it can be pretty unsettling to the car. And finding grip in that braking zone, I'm sure, can be a challenge, especially in the middle of the heat of the day.
Absolutely.
So Track Battle B continues here as we work our way towards the end of the session. Fez Bobber into the infield section, turns 5, 6, 7, 8. I love the camera shots we have in the infield this weekend, the low shot we have as they climb the curbs. It just gives you a perspective of how much dynamicism is behind these cars. All the suspension moving around, bouncing and bobbing, and all the adjustments that drivers are going to have to make to really tune their cars to be able to handle all those curbs.
So Dana Baczynski improving during the session, 103.941, which I don't think is a personal best, but best for the session in Club TR.
So Dana working his way through the infield now. And up over the curbs for Dana. And it's only been a couple of events since he added the splitter to the front of his car. And I'm not sure, again, I think it was back at Autobahn Country Club in June when the front of his car was actually shaking itself off down the back straightaway. And he had the bumper coming off, and he had some crazy hand-over-hand big slide out of the final corner and then broke the track record and won the weekend all in that final moment. I'm sure he's glad the car is stitched together a little stiffer now, but that was probably one of my favorite time attack moments of the summer.
Look at this overhead shot. See how busy this paddock is. How remarkable.
It's full. It's a full place. And we don't have the festival goers necessarily here yet. So when we fill it with people and the music starts, it's going to be a wild, wild evening. And if you have not made it out to a GRIDLIFE festival, you should make it a point to do so. And I think if you're local, you probably still have an opportunity to go to alpinehorizonfestival.com and grab some tickets. But if you're not local, it's a long drive for a lot of the folks on the Midwest or on the East Coast. But if you're nearby, Colorado, New Mexico, Kansas, give it a go. alpinehorizonfestival.com as we watch Daniel Moore navigate the infield section one final time here. And Baczynski will follow at a 103.941. There's Granberg right behind. And I think it's an interesting moment. I think Granberg and Baczynski, if they run together, I think there's probably some things they could learn from each other based on how similar their cars are.
Very much.
And how different lines are. I'm sure Granberg and Baczynski are not running the same line. And as a driver, especially for those that haven't been here before, it's great to see someone in a similar car take a different line. Oh, I didn't try that yet. Let's give that a go.
Exactly. I mean, throughout the weekend, drivers are just going to be experimenting with what works best for their setups.
Yeah, so Dana looks like he's off throttle now. Going to let Granberg on by. There's Peter. And again, this car has seen quite some changes over the years that he's run it. Again, at one point it was it supercharged and turbocharged? I know, or he switched between those two setups, or was it just turbocharged?
I don't recall.
I feel like he had tried basically everything. Did it supercharge or did it? I'm going to get corrected later. I'll correct everybody tomorrow when I get corrected tonight. Wow, big moment over the curbs for Peter there. He's really getting after it, but this car has seen so many changes, and I think he's really landed on a package I think suits him well, as you mentioned at the beginning of the session. And certainly he's comfortable sliding it around.
You were talking about these low camera angles. I think as a fan of motorsports and watching televised motorsports, it's really difficult to see how fast the cars are on TV when you have zooms and pans and all of these like television type necessities. When you put the camera really low and you put it down by the track and you see the cars kind of dance on that edge, it is incredible to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot more motion going on than the camera usually captures, but here you see a little bit hot there into turn 3 for Peter that time. A little shake and wiggle off the corner as he tries to get the thing straightened out. This low shot I think is super indicative of how much motion the car is actually going through, especially when you get up onto the curb and you watch the dynamicism of the car land. Big slide there. Love that shot. I mean, that's a Momo moment if I've ever seen one. And looks like he might be calling it quits there at the end of the session.
Expecting this is probably the end. I wouldn't expect to see very many more hot laps by anybody.
Does he have a problem now, potentially?
Appears so.
Well, that's unfortunate. See the brake lights flashing. He's got the hazards on. Does he have a tire issue, a motor issue? Looks like someone got through there no problem, but looks like that will probably bring this session to an end as they have to go extract that car.
Kudos to pulling into a relatively safe spot. That's not anywhere near a hazard area, so it'll probably be local yellow, but we're very near the end of the session anyway, so I would expect a checker here very soon.
So Track Battle B, I think we're going to step away for a few minutes, and because this session's going to end, we're going to have to go get Peter, and we'll set back up for Track Battle C here in a couple of minutes. But as we get closer and closer to the end of this afternoon Track Battle session, again, we didn't see a lot of people go faster, but I'm keeping my eye on that Street GT fight. That has closed up a lot.
Absolutely, and maybe it was a foregone conclusion that Stephen Luca would show up to this event and win. I'm not positive that's the case for this overall weekend.
Yeah, certainly Mustang versus Corvette versus Camaro. That'll be a fight to watch. We'll step away for a few minutes. We'll be right back with more track battle action from GRIDLIFE Alpine Horizon. Coverage of GRIDLIFE Alpine Horizon is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GRIDLIFE. And by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. And by Falcon Tires, the Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR. K&N, Performance Unlimited.
At 303, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.
Ed Vance here, and I'm at my favorite place again.
Sorry, did you say your name is Ed Vance?
That's me.
Like advance?
Crazy, right? And it just so happens he knows everything in advance.
Oh, you know the future? Did you know I needed 10W30?
No. I just know everything here in Advance Auto Parts, like where the 10W30 is.
So you don't know what I'll do next?
Actually, I do. You will be going to the oil aisle.
He's good.
He's advance.
I spent a lot of time here.
He's here a lot.
This is how we advance.
more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little?
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some.
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting the wedding. She's getting married, so.
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
For those who don't settle when others do. For those who are set free by performance and believe innovation can take you anywhere.
Welcome to Grid Life Drift, and we are about to see what is the contrary to what we saw earlier. You know, it's all about going the fastest around the corners, you know, not getting sideways, keeping the rubber meeting the road. But look at the amount of smoke. You could barely see through how thick that smoke is. I'm Jared Deenda. This is Grid Life Drift. The horns are ablazing, the tires are ablazing, and we are here for a good time. Joining me is Kyle Harris. Kyle, dude, thank you so much for letting me be part of GLTC. This is kind of where I'm leading, you're following, literally kind of what we're seeing on track, but also our fans. This is basically an expression session. You know, in competitive drifting, we'd like to see clipping points and clipping zones. Here, it's about getting sideways, having more amplitude, having that overall feel and style. What do you make of drifting? I mean, you come from, you know, either, you know, SRO world, road racing world, time attack, GLTC, as we see the Ultimaniac. Speaking of attacking, the Ultimaniac, that GTR-powered Nissan Altima. That is a purpose-built drift machine taxi. Some Valvoline executives are riding with Chris the Force Forsberg, three-time Formula Drift champ. What are your thoughts of drifting overall?
Well, I respect the heck out of these drivers. They do so much behind the wheel. Their footwork is incredible. I've ridden with Forsberg in his 370Z. What a wild ride. The craziest thing I learned is how violent the changes in direction are, but once you're sideways, it's very smooth in the car, and the drivers are extremely, extremely skilled. But I love watching the tandems in particular, Jared, getting the car right up on the edge without running into each other. You can't see anything, and you're looking out the left side window, not the windshield.
Yeah, either left or right, and overall, you know, they're drifting not the bank at all, not where turn one is for either GLTC or obviously Time Attack, but you can see him come unbound there. But some of the notable names that are out here in the Pro Championship, or Pro drivers are out here. We talked about Chris the Force Forsberg, the RTR trio. We got Vaughn Gittin Jr., we got Chelsea Denofa and Adam LZ, notably. Then we got the Falcon Tire Boys. You got that of JTP Justin Pollock. You have Dylan Hughes, as well as Odie Bakshi. So you got some teal and blue out there. Also joining us out here is Slide or Daijiro Yoshihara, a former Formula Drift champion. The smoke is super thick. But I talk about the pros, but over, Kyle, you were wrapping out with some of the drivers yesterday, because you have so many that are just out here. You know, they're Pro-Am drivers, some are Pro-Spec drivers, but it's more to just kind of put smiles on faces.
Yeah, I was walking through the paddock last night. I've never really immersed myself in the drift world, and I met so many of the locals.
How many beers did you get handed?
Not as many as I would have liked, but I will say that they would have offered had I asked. But I met a lot of the Drift Riot guys last night, Zach Ferris, Ben Gibson, and Brandon Carter. That trio, there's one in an S13, actually two in an S13, and the other, Zach Ferris in a Nissan 350Z. Met all those guys, super cool dudes.
Yeah, and I haven't met a drifter that I don't like. Actually one, but I won't name names. And but just we talked about this and how much fun it truly is. But look at that, we are seeing that's Alec Robbins in that Facetto Nissan 350Z. I'm trying to see who's chasing him up. I know Rome Charpentier is out here as well. And we're talking about there are the RTR boys, at least two of them. And you know what's really cool too is perspective-wise, you're going to see a Toyota Supra out there with some Canon livery. That's, you know, accomplished photographer Larry Chen. Adam LZ out there in his AutoZone, Pennzoil, Mustang RTR Spec 5D. Chasing him up is Chelsea Denofa, who's having a shot and a go at the Formula Drift Championship. We have round 7 of 8 next weekend in Salt Lake City. And I don't know if you've seen the teaser of the Ford and the Ford performance called the Stampede next week in Detroit. Kind of teasing the new Mustang is what they are. And speaking of Mustang, Vaughn Gittin Jr., an absolute legend, 2-time FD champion in that Monster Energy Nitto Tire Ford Performance Mustang RTR.
Yeah, I love watching those Mustangs tandeming together. And again, at Lime Rock, we talked a lot about the horsepower difference between some of the pro cars versus some of the bro cars out there. If you don't have a lot of power, you're struggling to get that wheel spin, and it can be a challenge to hang the car out on angle.
Yeah, we're seeing Colette Davis there. That Colette is piloting her rotary powered. Yeah, it's actually rotary, you know, because a lot of Mazdas are going LS. They'll have Coyotes. They'll even put K-swaps in there, you know, Honda engines in this vehicle. She wanted to keep it true to form. All right, there we go. Another champion. This is Michael Essa, FCP Euro, a big sponsor of Grid Life. Thank you for them and their support. That Michael Essa, FCP Euro, Liquid Molly, Bilstein, GT Radial, BMW. He is a former Formula Drift champ. Hasn't had the best of luck this year, but a very smooth, dynamic driver. Very fast, very quick.
And one of the things I had to learn crash course really fast the other night is the chassis I know the least about in any world is the S chassis.
Yeah.
Which is a real big problem in drift. So I was learning all, the S14.9,
S13, 14, yeah.
all the bumper conversions.
Don't get stuck in the weeds on that because it's long division math, and I'm not good at that at all. I mean, you got S13 to the 0.5 to the 4 to the 9, the S14.9, where don't do the math.
And the S guys, they know all those things. And if you
See, what is that? What's the front end on that?
S14.
That's S15 front end.
See, I don't know those things.
So that's a S14.5. So yeah, it's just
that's the rest of the
oh, look at this. So this is fun. So what's really cool here is a drift demo is going to go down when you start seeing them on the wall. They're slapping the wall, telling them to get close. Adam LZ comes out of the smoke. These gentlemen on Nitto tires. Adam LZ, he's joined the RTR camp this year. And a great addition. He has quite the following if you don't know who Adam LZ is. Adam LZ doing double duty. He's doing a track battle as well as he's doing drifting. Did you see his Evo?
We did, and he was doing great.
Do you like it? Yeah, is he doing good?
Amazing. It's such
He's
a clean
busy.
car. He's really, really jealous of that car. Actually.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
car.
car.
Tell me about tire choice, though. What as a drifter that's just getting into it, what are you looking for in a tire? Do you want stick? Do you want slide? Like, what are you looking for?
Well, first and foremost, they're running on tires that are readily available for customer consumption, meaning they have to be at your local tire retailer, whatever it might be. Then it comes down to, obviously, manufacturer. That is Josh Love right there. He is an amazing young man. Jasper Keys, rocking that Big Duck Club kit. So just got to give some love to Josh Love, a great guy, competes in the Formula Drift Championship. So in regards to tires, manufacturer, and then the biggest factor, Kyle, and I think you'll appreciate this, just kind of being more of a road race, a traditional racer, is the size of tire, not the brand, because that's what's really cool is there's more tires involved in Formula Drift than any other sanctioning body because we have multiple brands. If it is Falcon Tire, Nitto Tire, GT Radial, Fed, we have quite a few. So what dictates their tire size is the weight of the vehicle. The heavier the car, the wider they can get. If they have a light car, they actually want that. It comes down to side bite.
Right.
And that's what it really comes down to is side bite. You do want a little bit of slip, but you obviously want that grip to propel you forward. And interestingly enough, and I don't know if you saw this when you rode with Chris Forsberg, is when you pull on that handbrake, it causes the car to go back because that's going to lose traction. So that's where you get flat spots on the tires.
Yep.
Not a big deal, obviously, when you burn them up that quick. You're talk about consumables in road racing, what we see with GLTC, which right after this, that's what we're going to see. The consumables get interesting. Here we go. This is Team Falcon Tire. Just wanted to introduce them. That is Odie Bakshi's as Dylan Hughes. He just finished this E36. He's got the Permatex E36. He won earlier this year. Odie Bakshi's has seen a victory here this year, and he's getting after it. That is Kelsey Rawlings. Now, notably, Kelsey Rawlings, she is piloting a Ford performance-powered S chassis, which is kind of contrary, right? I mean, we talked about the LS-powered 86 that we saw in GLTC, but a Ford-powered S14 is kind of interesting as well.
And I think a lot of the drivers I talked to in the S13 chassis, the LS is like an obvious swap for that car, and it seems to be probably one of the most common swaps into that chassis in general. So a Ford swap, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, and what's, and a testimonial to that would be that even this weekend, cross-country in Bowling Green, Kentucky, is LS Fest. That's going on right now. Swan couldn't join us. He's normally starting out on the line. He's actually out there, and we're seeing E36 cut through. Who is that? I believe that is that Dr. Drift. I believe it is. Yeah, it's Dr. Drift. He operates and has a lot of fun with Colorado Drift. So right there in that E36.
There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that tandem there. Is that a
Would it be called a tandem?
Yeah. Is that
no? If it's a tandem. Yeah,
so what's a 4?
Drift train.
Okay.
Drift party.
Tandem and a train.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, because tandem would be,
Well,
you used a word earlier that I haven't heard in quite some time. It's the second to last race before the end of the championship. Yeah. It's too big a word for me, and I've been doing this for 19 years. All right, so look at an All-American. An All-American, not a battle here. This is a tandem, so that's a tandem with a chase car. Matt Field out front, who's currently leading the Formula Drift Championship, and this is his backup car. It might look exactly like, as well as JTP, Justin Pollock. It might look his comp car. I don't think that's his comp car, but maybe he is getting some track time. I apologize, Justin. You make your cars look so very similar. And Justin Pollock has been competing in the Formula Drift Championship for quite some time. There are the remaining Falcon Tire vehicles. So Falcon Tire has been a sponsor of Formula Drift since 2004.
And GRIDLIFE.
Yes.
So we'll throw that in there.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm saying
yes,
a Formula Drift.
But also yes.
Yes, and yes, but I'm saying that's how committed they are to the sport of drifting, and of course Falcon Tire supporting GRIDLIFE. So just kind of all encompassing.
Falcon supports motorsports in general.
There you go. Well said. All right, we got the Cressida out there as always a fun car. Those big bash bars. So that's what you call insurance.
I like that. Well, because a lot of the times their bumpers are ripped off halfway through the weekend anyway.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you just take it off and you don't have to keep replacing it and putting it back on all the time.
Have you been to a Formula Drift round yet?
I have not been.
Bro.
Something I've started watching, which is
Yeah.
something I wasn't something I had ever really tuned into before until recently. I watched Long Beach.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
There was some controversy in there as well, but that's all right.
Controversy everywhere. You know, that's where the big head scratch. Look at that, Michael Essa getting in his smoke, and getting in Michael Essa's smoke, and our drone pilot. And just wanted to look up his name here and make sure it is. But I believe that's Mr. Steele, right?
Well, we've got
it's Kevin
with us here this weekend. But
All right.
Steele is here.
Yep.
He is here this weekend, so he'll be.
I saw him, and here we go. Looks like so as we were seeing Adam LZ in a Falcon Tire vehicle. Here is the Ultimaniac. Now, if you don't know the story behind this vehicle, this is a Chris Forsberg behind the wheel, GTR powered Nissan Altima. You're never going to see another Altima like this, fully caged. That's why the stance on it, look how low it is, look how mean it is. Purpose-built, wide body, but there are 4 seats in it. Obviously 1 for the driver and then 3 passengers. Purpose-built for demos. This is just, kind of just bonkers build to excite everybody.
It has a digital dash in the back seat so the passengers can watch. It makes 1,600 horsepower or something there.
Yeah.
I saw the thing go down the front straightaway at Gingerman. It looked like it was doing Mach 3. It was just like a fighter jet. I've never seen a car move that fast.
Yeah, and a fun track for us, and we had a GRIDLIFE. We had a festival at Road Atlanta a few years ago, and that's where we saw the highest speed entry, and I believe that was for Forsberg in his M chassis. So I'd love to see the Ultimaniac as Dylan Hughes, who won notably in Orlando earlier this year in the Formula Drift Championship. But again, we're seeing a bevy of pro drivers and some of these pro spec and pro drivers, but
woo, a little wall tap there, Jared.
Flirting with the wall, and that's if they get into the wall and do what's called a love tap. A hate tap is when it disrupts the car or you change the attitude of your vehicle, meaning the bumper and everything's bashed in, and that can definitely happen. But some of these pro spec drivers should be mentioned. But Andrew Schwall, Peter Collins, Andrew Crutcher. Andrew's got a really cool. Did you see his FCRX7? It's that green one.
I did see it.
Yeah, great looking car. Dustin Elgidge, I believe it is.
Yep.
Zach Ferris, you talked about him earlier. Eugene Fagelman. Thank you.
I met Michael Gall yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, Michael Gall.
Got a 91 S13, very clean looking, and he's got his buddy with him. Alongside him, that is Kurt Thomas, who has number 24 on the side because Jeff Gordon was his favorite driver.
Hey, let's go.
A little trivia there.
Sarah Haro, she's out there. Saw her. She was shooting me with one of those like jelly gun things. Daniel Hedrick.
I don't know what anything you just said.
There's a Sarah Haro. She's out here drifting, but there's like shoot the little BB, like the gel BBs. Yeah,
never heard of that.
Yeah, she was just clapping us out there. But Daniel Hedrick, Sean Illingworth, that is Trapper John, Corey Keyser. Casey Cole is Casey Cole out here? I haven't seen him yet.
On the list.
Yeah, Michael Laurent, Josh Love, Derek Madison, Christian Mancini, Trey Martin, Andrew Mayer, Carlton McDonald, Ian McDougall, Alan Menard, Galen Nazarino, and Austin Phillips. Just kind of want to shout some of them out, just if we're not seeing them on screen. Roberto Ramirez, Kenneth Roskin, Michael Schuett, Jason Schumer, Charles Cerutho, Matt Sixberry, Skylar Slade. I have not seen Amanda and Brandon Sorensen. That's a brother and sister that compete in pro spec and pro. Brandon Sorensen, Caleb Stillman, Daniel Stuckey, Saul Stuckey cruising the pits. And again, he's not in his comp car. He is really a threat. Robert Thorne, who notably has been shredding in Formula Drift in the Pro Spec Championship. Great looking Nissan Z as we are all up in it. And we're going upside down. Smack it up, flip it. Drifter's gone wild in this E36, which you talk about S chassis, Kyle, and just with, S chassis are and will always be kind of the quintessential drift car because of the aftermarket really supports it. Because, just as much power and lightweightness is important. It's suspension components. You can see just the front angle. I mean, the front the front tires are nearly going 90 degrees to the right. I mean, you could parallel that that thing super easy.
I was talking with Charlie Enslin, who's our operations manager here at GRIDLIFE. He's got an S chassis, and he was telling me one of the other reasons why they're popular. They're simple, lightweight, and they have a long wheelbase. Which, tell me about wheelbase for a drift car. You probably want a little longer, get you that stability.
Yeah, it comes to that pivot, right?
Yeah.
And you see certain vehicles, just the way they rotate, kind of on a central axis, as opposed to sometimes they have that swing. And with it being subjective, it's about line, angle, style, and then also that X factor. So either rate to angle, expediting that, and getting kind of slappy, kind of just going and transitioning from left to right or right to left, obviously. It just comes down to what you feel comfortable with, what you can get to rotate. Interesting car here. This is Slide or Daijiro Yoshihara. Talking about wheelbase, he completely transitioned this car and transformed this car into a demo vehicle. This is his former comp car. It's a turbocharged LS, and he turned it into right-hand drive. It was originally left-hand drive, but turned it into right-hand drive, and just kind of a really, really fun car. And Dai Yoshihara, a former champ, hung up his helmet last year. This is his first year not competing in FD, but just always a pleasure. There's Rome Charpentier, who has made a lot of noise. He got second place in New Jersey earlier this year in the Garagistic BMW. That is not him. Looks almost identical to Rome Charpentier, but the Drift Doctor in the E36.
Is Garagistic, is that the same team? They run an SRO as well. Is that the same garage? It's got to. There's no way.
I'm not for certain.
No, because there's a team that's DRS and Garagistic.
I would have to assume so. I'm not familiar with that. Obviously, primarily drifting and Nitro Rallycross and other motorsports. I don't really focus on the SRO. No, almost getting out there to that wall, but it does kind of bow out there just outside of eyeshot. There's Kelsey Rawlings, originally from Florida. Busy gal. You can see the 303 top one, Stebel S chassis with that Ford power plant.
Yeah, talking about some more crossover. Talking to Galen last night, met him, real reserved, very quiet, but very kind guy. And we were just chatting. He was on his laptop working on something, and he was putting livery on his car. And he actually works with Random Vandals Racing, who has an IMSA team. They run a BMW M4 GT4 over there. So, again, crossing disciplines. We talked about Robert Thorne.
Yep.
We're talking about Adam LZ. All the grip and drift, that crossover. We're going to have a drift grip session tomorrow, which is drift and grip cars on the track at the same time. How about that?
And there's Big Hurt. There's Hertz Eugene Jr., a.k.a. you simply know him as Hurt. He's got a K-swap in that. So that's a Honda engine in an S13. So, again, the boys at K-Series, K-Swap, they have worked on this thing feverishly. We saw the debut of it, I believe it was last year, was it 2 years ago, and didn't have the most exact great luck, but it's great to see him out here. There's Colette Davis. You can see Colette Davis. She obviously likes her neon colors. Colette Davis. She's a very popular YouTube content creator, and she's been doing some amazing things. Her and Adam LZ just got back from Ireland. There was a LZ Fest in Ireland.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like Forza, if this isn't Forza enough.
Right, exactly. So it's really cool for Adam LZ and Colette to go out there. They met up with, I believe it was Bagsy for sure. They linked up with three-time champion James Dean. Dean is an absolute talent. James the Machine Dean. Adam Kanapik, he's on part of that donut team. We make clothes. The livery is just as simple as possible. Donut, we make clothes.
Well, the smoke has begun to clear here a little bit. I'm curious about night shift later tonight. We're going to have that on a separate broadcast this evening. Lasers, smoke. It's going to be a wild one. And we have 76 drift cars here this week.
Oh, my God. That's why, again, it's analogously, I grew up in action sports, and I could be your dad practically, Kyle. But just growing up in action sports and skateboarding, the progression of what you see of not only street but vert, you see some drivers, you're like, wow, I've never met you before. I've never seen this driver. So a lot of these, Pro-Am drivers are just dudes that love to come out and just do demos and just absolutely have a good time. I've never seen them drift before, and I think that's just a testimonial to exactly kind of the sport of drifting progress, and just seeing some new cars, unique builds, and just at the end of the day, putting smiles on faces.
And a cool place to really engage with your heroes, right? If you're a drifter in this area and you signed up for this event, you're sharing the racetrack with the people that you look up to. That's not something you can do in a lot of disciplines.
No, yeah, it's a lot of fun to, if you're a baseball player throwing the ball around with a professional, and if that player feels confident, you could, throw a pitch or throw a ball, metaphorically, if you could go tandem with them, hey, so be it. Let's go out there, and that's kind of, just like GLTC and racing at COTA. Here's Formula One. Here's a, at one point, the only track in the States that Formula One was competing at. Now, obviously, Miami, and then next year going to Vegas. That's pretty awesome. But beside the point, it's about here's the Gold Diggers. These guys have, we've seen as many as 3 Gold Diggers vehicles out here right now, but the E46.
Oh, he's got a tire down. Yeah, he does. The right rear, I think it's down, or he had rubber flapping around back there, but that's all right. Spin it off.
Just a little shrapnel. He's already exploded that back bumper.
Send it through. This is such an interesting track for drift, too. You got a great opportunity to kind of go back and forth, manji down the straightaway, and kind of really link those corners together. They're so tight together. You're not having to carry long drifts like you do at Lime Rock where we were months ago.
Yeah, Lime Rock looked amazing, man. Just looked like such a great event. I had some friends out there. Whoa! And the Audi, I believe, what is that, an A4?
I have information on this car, so give me a second and I'll get back to you on
please
that.
do.
But I did talk to that driver last night, and it's a 2012 Austin. That guy's name, Austin Fitz.
Audi S4,
Audi S4, and we chatted with him last night. It's basically stock power, but it's got a rear-wheel drive conversion kit, basically a locked center diff, and he's just carrying around all the actually, he's deleted the front axles, he told me. So,
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so a lot of modifications to that car, but not a lot under the hood.
Yeah.
Bolt-ons, but that's basically it.
I would assume he's not going to just leave the axles there and just kind of spin it around. You never know.
Around,
right.
It's all right, but it'd be a lot of weight to carry around a little extra. But awesome, nice guy, and was it was a car that at first I didn't think was a drift car. It doesn't look as obviously set up for drift as some of these other cars.
Looks more road race there.
Certainly does.
Seeing the so there's Rome Sharpens here. That's what I was talking about. Taking the beeline there over the hip and over that rumble strip.
He's dragging a side skirt with him, I think. There he is.
Yeah, dragging, pushing around a cleanup crew. The Zamboni picking up some rubber. There we are on the roof of JTP, Justin Pollock, Dylan Hughes, just finishing up that car before bringing it out here. Dylan Hughes has been a very busy man with Permatex and Royal Purple, and he's been very, very busy. So he's been building a bunch of different cars, and notably that one. That used to be a street car.
Really?
And with that wide body kit, he never installed the fuel door cap. So he'd have to literally go to the gas station and take off that whole back fender in order to fill the car up. So it was always a process to fill up that vehicle.
Well, hopefully it's a little easier now.
A lot easier, and I mean, quick change. He's got all the components that could make that a Formula Drift Pro spec vehicle.
I would have just put a hole saw to it after about 2 days of doing
right.
that
Yeah.
at that point.
All right, so we got look at that, Chelsea Denofa and Josh Love. Josh Love is such a great human being. Love that dude. Chelsea, we were having some words about how he's been keeping busy. He just bought a big plot of land and a really cool house out in Florida, him and his wife, Chelsea, out there taking care of the dogs and the frogs.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. And we're in it. There's the Drift Riot boy you're talking about. Who's that?
Yeah, so again, I'm working on names, so bear with me. But again, there was 3 of them. That's Zach Ferris behind the wheel of that car. Met him and his teammates, and they've got 2 of the other 2 teammates in the S13s have big LED sticks on the back trunk, so that'll be
some
really
whips, tail whips.
They called it something a little more not safe for work that I don't think I can say.
Yeah, let's don't do that.
I'm going to leave it there.
I appreciate
You'll see
that,
them
Kyle.
tonight.
I mean, you're a real pirate. When we get off these microphones, you guys would be offended
Probably.
by the things that Baby Kyle says. We lovingly call Kyle off-camera Baby Kyle just because he's young and sweet, and he's fresh. He's a little green behind the ears, but oh so professional. Yeah.
whatever you say, Jared.
Yeah, man. See, again, real pirate when we turn these headphones off.
Yeah.
There is Matt Field, like I said, his passenger, throwing up the horns, excited. Don't know who's riding shotgun with him, but I'll tell you what. This gentleman, Matt Field, pilots a Corvette. This is a takedown version of his comp car, but obviously still very capable, throwing up the Momo gloves, and you can see the horns there as Momo's in the corner. He's got Momo, suit, seat, he's got it all, and even he's got Forge Star on the corners wrapped in those Falcon tires. Both him and Dylan Hughes are Momo Forge Star.
I think he's hit
and
4
tires.
GridLife sponsors: Falcon, Momo, Forge Star, and what was the other one?
Don't know.
Falcon?
No. Yeah, we said Falcon.
We said
3.
Okay, three of the however many. But.
Yeah, I mean, there it is. He's again it's cool to see the drivers out here. Don't know who that is exactly. I apologize. See if we could get a little door card there.
Yeah, that was my biggest challenge coming from into this world is without number boards, which are kind of the cheat sheet in the grip world, it becomes challenging. You're reading Instagram names off the quarter window, you know?
Yeah, I'm just, again, my mind is melding with
who do you think it is? I'll look him up.
No, definitely, I'm going for nothing.
Control F in the Google sheet.
Definitely no Chelsea Denofa. Chelsea Denofa, he's, again, these RTR Spec 5s. I want to take a look at the current standings for Formula Drift, because it's of course always great to see who's up in the mix. Chelsea Denofa currently 5th in the championship points, but we have currently first in points Matt Field, Chris Forsberg out here sitting 4th, and then Chelsea Denofa sitting 5th. Dylan Hughes in 6th. So, and then look at that, Odie Bakshi sitting 8th, and Rome Charpentier 9th. So we have, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the top 10 drivers here at GridLife.
Well, we like to party. Look at Larry Chen chasing around. We get such great footage off of this Larry Chen Supra, and I think he had a rental at Lime Rock. It was like New Jersey registration.
Don't rat him out. Why'd you narc him out, dude?
Just camera.
Why did you just narc him out?
Stapled to the hood, like it's him. He's got his ride this weekend, and certainly some of the best video footage you're going to get behind the wheel there. Looks like we're winding things down here pretty shortly, Jared.
We started early.
We did start. Well, I think, we started a little early. I think they might have to get the track a little cleanup before we go out there for GLTC with all the marbles and the rubber shreds we're creating. But looks like we've got a couple more minutes, maybe one more run.
We got Captain Clutch Kick, Mr. RTR ready to rock. See the fans there. That's where they sit, and that's where they stand. You can see Drift HQ right there, Drift HQ, and Adam LZ, his Evo 5. And here we go. This is Matt Field. Looks like he is rip-roaring, ready to go. Getting kind of a running start here.
Is he on the banking? I think he's over in NASCAR 3 and 4. So
yeah,
I think he's
wrapping it up.
Around, yep. And looks like Larry Chen is following as well. So we'll see. That might be it.
I'm seeing some cars go past our announcer's booth, and notably Dean Carnage Carney. I know he built a fun demo car, and I said, hey, man, when you drive this thing? He says, when was the last time you drove? He says, I drove it on the trailer last night. That's it. So,
well, that's better than nothing. At least it started.
It's going.
You know?
So this is a demo car he built, so we'll see if we see Dean Carnage Carney in that HyperNFT.io vehicle. He's on Nexon Tires, but right now it's Vaughn Gittin Jr. initiates big angle from Vaughn Gittin Jr. So talking about multiple discipline, this gentleman right here, just coming from Ultra 4 racing, off-road racing, him and Lauren Healy. Lauren Healy got 3 wins. Vaughn has been very busy in the dirt, and also being a dad. He's got his 2 boys, so he's been very, very busy. And it looks like I am seeing Stuckey out here. So Daniel Stuckey in that Pro Spec S chassis. So we got a bit of a backup, some traffic, or might be shutting it down as we get a full pull from Vaughn Gittin Jr.
Into turn 8 over here on the PPIR roll.
Oh, right in it. Right in it. Good on ya.
Laying down some black track limits lines for the GLTC cars coming
right.
up.
And so how do you think that's going to affect?
Oh, it'll be a mess.
You think?
Yeah, if we don't wipe this track off, the first lap is going to be everyone picking up all the rubber. It'll be all right. It's good. We do this every year.
Everything's fine.
But again, all these rubber shreds, they kind of shred off in little spherical marbles, they call them, and they get everywhere. And the first time you head down there with a hot, sticky tire, you're going to pick it all up. And you see on the pace laps, drivers will be weaving back and forth aggressively to try to clear their tires of all that slag.
Yeah, the rubber magnets. So we are looking at just things winding down here with our GridLife Drift demo expression session, and it looks like we should be seeing them later on this evening. We're going to be seeing them at 7:30 and 8:50. Are we doing the 7:30 live?
We are not broadcasting that one, but you'll see Night Shift Drift. Absolutely.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Yep.
But I'm not going anywhere, Kyle, because we got a GLTC Race 2 to call in just moments, right? Are we going live with that?
Absolutely. Just a couple moments. We'll be right back with GridLife Touring Cup Race number 2. Stay with us. Coverage of GridLife Alpine Horizon is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GridLife. And by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR. K&N, Performance Unlimited.
flies, and we're racing. The Hightower pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4. This win, it's big fly! It's time to go racing at GRIDLIFE Midwest.
Hill side by side. O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes the lead. 3 wide the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
The most thrilling and most competitive grassroots road racing series returns to Pikes Peak International Raceway for its second race of today, Friday of GridLife's Alpine Horizon Festival. Welcome back to GridLife Live. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Jared DeAnda. Jared, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Race 1 was great. We had a great battle up front. Jeremy Swenson, Tom O'Gorman battling it out as they have in the past. Jeremy is going to go to a brand new set of tires for this race. Tomo doesn't think he's super confident about winning this race, but look, he's starting on pole, had the fastest lap in race 1. I think Tom's going to be one to beat in this race. I think Jeremy's really, really solid, but if Tom can lead that first lap, it might be game over.
I'm just going to tell it, I'm going to put it out there. You get some communique from Tom. I know in the drifting world, he's out there with Robert Thorne, and he's given me a lot of communique. Has he told you anything?
Yeah, usually he just tells me either the car is horrible or the car is awesome. Although since Autobahn...
Do we reveal his secrets is the question?
He doesn't tell me any of his secrets.
Okay.
So in June at Autobahn Country Club, Tom messaged me before the race and said that car is expletive unbelievable. And since then, he's won 19 races or some stupid number like that. He's just on it right now. ASM and Tom are on it. But brand new set of tires for Jeremy. That might help Jeremy a lot. Again, who knows how old the tires he was on last race were. It could be a big advantage for Jeremy.
What do you think Highcotter needs to do in order to get it done? Because, you know, it was up to 1.5 early on, dropped all the way back. I mean, there was quite a bit of difference between Highcotter and Swenson, and right behind him was Eric Jensen. What does Highcotter need to do in order to make it? I mean, he did podium, but above Swenson and Tomo.
I think it's all about the first lap here. I think you really have to establish your position early. Once you give Tom and Jeremy clear racetrack, they're just going to drive away. They're so good. Not that Brian Highcotter isn't, but I think the disparity here is just you've got clear racetrack ahead of you. You don't have to brake early because other people are in your way. You just go. If Brian could be alongside going into turn 3 into the infield, he'll be in good shape. But I think Eric Jensen in 4th could be a factor as well. He's got a very similar car, maybe not in style, but in mechanicals to Jeremy Swenson. So certainly Jensen in that LSFRS will be a factor. Joel Morrison, by the way, his first race back, he's going to start in 5th in his second race of the weekend. So really solid start for Joel Morrison from Myriad Motorsports and 9 Lives Racing.
Taking a look at those bumps right there, and excuse me, the rumble strips, not so rumbly, but definitely big, and you see a lot of the racers utilize them. Tomo, notably, we saw Swenson throwing out those elbows. We talked about how big of a big purple people eater that thing is. It's a big car, but would always get him on the straights. And Tomo was trying to cut down, get that win overall, but congratulations to Swenson for getting the win in that first race.
You talked about the curbing here. The apex curbs, where you are in the middle of the corner, they don't really have any rippling or rumbling on them, so you can kind of climb up. They're pretty smooth once you get on top of them. The exit curbs that you track out to before you go down the straightaway, those have ripples and rumbles, and they are extremely aggressive, and they will shake your teeth out around here. So you don't want to track out too far, but the apex curbs, big, wide, flat, go for them. Jump those things all you can. The challenge is you can't put 4 tires to the inside of that white line.
You're cutting the corner.
On your screen, you're cutting the corner. They will black flag you for that. So
black flag.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself in trouble.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not a line that you want to play with. In the past, we've had drivers disqualified from qualifying, but in the race, it's a little harder to tell if you gained an advantage. If you go off track and you don't gain anything, that's all fine and dandy.
Yeah.
If you go to the inside of a corner, cut it, and gain time, that's a big penalty.
Track getting prepped here, making sure that cones are in the respective spot, the racers, and what is the format? Remind the fans tuning in, and what are the repercussions of this? Because the trophies are given at the end of the weekend, but it's a culmination of multiple events to finally crown that podium.
Every race you're in points. Winner gets 25, 21, 18, so on and so forth. 12 to 15-minute races. This is a power to weight series. How can the Miata, how can the S2000 race the Corvette, race the 370Z? Power versus weight versus tire. Bigger car can be heavier, but it can also have more power. Lighter car, less power, has a little bit less tire. So all those things kind of combine and mix to give you, I think, the most competitive grassroots series in North America and the widest variety of cars.
Right.
And you don't see a Corvette drag race an S2000 down the road. The Corvette would win that every single time. You see it here a little bit to an extent with Jeremy versus Tom, but you see Tom gain all that time back in the corners.
Well, you use the term drag racing, and not to confuse people here, but I do like the variety. In drag racing, you have a term says run what you brung, and I think that's exactly fitting for what's going on here because, again, ironically and coincidentally use the term drag race, but that is that horsepower versus weight ratio. But all the vehicles are in the same class for clarification. What is going to happen at the end the results, what happens in the next race going into tomorrow.
So what happens here? So our second race finishing position is going to determine our starting grid for tomorrow. So if you win the race, you would start in first, but there's a little bit of a caveat to that.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, 11th through 25th, you're going to start where you finish.
Yep.
First through 10th, tomorrow morning, they're going to re-qualify one at a time. One lap is all you get to put on a show.
You get a flyer then.
You get a flyer lap,
okay.
yeah. Just one hot lap, one lap time, and that's what sets the grid for the top 10. We call that the top 10 shootout. That is a show. It's really, it's kind of like Time Attack. You get really one shot, and that's all that counts. Go out there, run your lap. That puts you on pole, hopefully, and start the race.
I think Eminem comes out for that, too. You get one shot. No, I'm joking. That was a dad joke. I apologize. Do you even know who Eminem is?
Yes, I do know that.
Not the candy.
Yeah, also, yes.
Okay, cool. You do know the candy.
Yes.
Favorite M&Ms, go.
Green.
Not color, bro. I'm talking about like ingredient. I know it's on your rider.
The pretzel M&Ms are the best ones.
That is the randomest, really?
Or the crispy ones.
Okay. All right, I could see
Green
that. Okay, yeah. I like the caramel ones. Thanks for asking. All right, so this GRIDLIFE not brought to you by M&M's, the wrapper, nor the candy, but what it is oh so sweet is our GRIDLIFE GLTC Touring Cup. Man, I'm excited to see this. We saw some great racing earlier. Kind of got unwound format-wise, 12 to 15 minutes. We saw almost about the 12-minute mark. It was. Figure, do the math, about 12 laps. We get 2 little pace laps. Pace car pulls off, and we'll see green means go.
All right, so cars pulling on the racetrack now. Let's have a look at our starting lineup for this race. This is race number 2. This is based off of fastest lap from race number 1. On pole is going to be Tom O'Gorman in the number 94 Honda S2000 from ASM. Points leader coming into this weekend, Jeremy Swenson, starts alongside him, race 1 winner. Brian Heitkotter from Forsberg Racing starts in row 2 alongside Eric Jensen from G-Speed in his LS Swap FRS. Joel Morrison from 9 Lives Racing and Myriad Motorsports starts in 5th. Andy Smedegard starts 6th in the number 212 from ASM, the team that bears his name. Zach Lavoie rolls off in 7th. Nick Steniford starts in 8th. A great lap by Nick. He's going to be inside the top 10 for the start of this one. Michael Hilo in the 224 Nissan 350 rolls off in 9th. Jackson Jensen, Maverick, starts in 10th. Starting in 11th, in row number 6, Felipe Gonzalez from Myriad Motorsports alongside his teammate and team owner, Jake Jornstad in the 2001 Honda S2000. 13th place, Jeremy Boysen in the number 40 alongside Wes Case in the number 767 in 14th place. Row number 7 is complete. Row number 8, Tyler Starr in the number 36 BRZ. Julio Crispin starts in 16th in his number 911 Nissan 350Z. Row 9, Hans Horpedahl, the number 77 from Myriad Motorsports. Fiona Liu starts in 18th in the 888. Row number 10, Robert Vierhout in the number 95 Nissan 350Z. And Savannah Little starts in 20th in her 06 Mazda MX-5 Miata. Row number 11 is Colton Wade in the number 99 Acura RSX. And Brandon Peterson starts in 22nd in his number 46 ex-Pirelli World Challenge Honda Civic. Jacob Poole starts in 23rd. Troy Castile starts in 24th. That rounds out your 24-car grid for race number 2.
There we are. We're seeing the big bank. That is turn 1, and notably there are some points of contention in regards to man versus machine, woman versus machine, but both of those combined against the track. On that big bank, we talked about it earlier, you see the tunnel where it goes from the infield to the outfield, or likewise, right, or kind of one way or the other, right? Well, on top of that is the track. And what has happened over the years, it's actually settled. So it's created kind of a bit of a divot or kind of a bump and an inverted speed bump. So that's going to cause the cars to kind of breaking up. And we talked earlier about it with Tomo, and he actually almost cut a tire because it went into the wheel well and almost sliced it. So saying it's sketchy, but we talked with Jeremy Swenson. He's saying it's sketchy as well. So going to the higher side seems like a bit of a safer line, but is it the faster line? Obviously, all things considered. Also, on that infield, we start getting into those chicanes and those turns where the drift vehicles have laid down a ton of rubber. Some of that particulate will find its way when they're drifting actually in the crowd. You kind of want to wear some glasses here not to catch some shrapnel. But overall, you can see that pavement has a bit of ribbon through there, laying some tar, making sure it's, it's seen some weathering. Here we are in Colorado, see some cold weather, see some hot weather. So you got to imagine what that does to the surface of the track and how that eventually treats the cars and the drivers and the outcome. Looks like our pace car is is coming off. Go ahead, Kyle. Call it if you will.
Here we go. Side by side, the two top runners from race number 1 going to do battle again on the banking here at Pikes Peak International Raceway. Green flag flies and racing again in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup. Joel Morrison, an incredible start. 3 wide to the inside of Highcotter, up to the rear bumper of O'Gorman, but nowhere to go. Highcotter still middle 3 wide as they head through turn 1.
Highcotter could get pinched out here, but no, he's pushing forward. And Swenson taking that wide line, Tomo taking that lower line, and Tomo said, hey, I'm going to need that lead lap in order to hold on to this.
Still 3 wide entering turn number 2. Morrison gets squeezed. Highcotter on the outside. Here comes Tomo to the inside now. Can he clear Jeremy Swenson? Not quite. Swenson still's got some side-by-side here as they head to 4, and that was a very strong power move by that number 30.
That was really good. Tempering that flame, kind of sitting back, waiting in that pocket, because you know you're setting yourself up for that big line. And that's where Tomo's strengths are. He's nimble, he's lower, he's a little bit lighter compared to the big Viking Corvette, but we saw how he can overpower. So this is where he needs to even gain some ground with just, here we are, 1 minute into this 12 to 15-minute lap.
Wow, look at Highcotter and Smedegard. They were door-to-door. Zach Lavoie right behind, going to tuck under his team owner as they exit turn number 9 and head down the front straightaway. Swenson leads the way. O'Gorman chasing. O'Gorman messaged me before the race and said he wasn't super confident, but he is doing his best. Jensen 3rd, Highcotter 4th, Lavoie 5th, then Smedegard, Morrison, Jensen, Steniford, and Jake Jornstad round out your top 10 after 1 lap of racing. And look at this, teammates side by side. That is Smedegard and Zach Lavoie doing battle down the back straight at PPIR.
Oh, absolutely. Look at this. So, as you said, the ASM vehicles there on that backstretch, and Swenson out front, no problem for him. Tomo sitting in second, but it's all ASM S2K right now.
Mirror full of S2000s for Smedegard. He's got one behind the wheel. He's got one in the 2 in the mirror. That's Joel Morrison again, who had that great start, but wasn't able to hang on to it. Had to give way as they headed into the infield. It's too narrow to do 3 wide down there, Jared.
And we talked about Jensen, who was sitting in 4th, and now the roles are reversed. Jensen now in 3rd, Highcotter in 4th. They finished in that first race in reverse order, but Swenson now it looks like he has that got that lead once again as they bunch up the rest of the pack. You could see almost seems like from 4th to 10th or 20th there's still a battle for it. Here we are, just 2 minutes into this race.
Colton Wade in the number 99 Acura RSX. He had never driven a front-wheel drive car on track before.
Wow.
And he was asking in the chat, he goes, how do you make this thing turn? I'm doing everything I can. Adam J said, grab some handbrake and go for a slide. Not actually, but Colton said, Adam, that's on you if I give that a try and it doesn't work out. So certainly Colton trying to figure out that car a little bit deeper in the field right now, 17th. But here's Andy now creeping up on the tailpipes of that big, heavier 370Z from Forsberg Racing.
All right, Highcotter, you can see them just kind of getting in a row, being respectful, being smart. It's a long weekend. This might be a quick sprint of a race, but it's accumulation of all of the events that go down here at our GRIDLIFE weekend Alpine Horizon Festival. Tonight the party is continuing on. I always like to, when I describe GRIDLIFE, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, I always say there's a party on track with wheel-to-wheel racing. You see track battle, you see drifting, but it's a party off track as well. We see the campsites over there, and in the middle of the course, you're seeing the stage that is playing host to a bunch of music acts here tonight.
Yeah, great battle here between Nick Steniford and Jake Jornstad. This is for 9th place. Steniford again started 25th in race number 1. Well, he must have done he actually gained 10 spots, but he still did what I suggested he do, get a solid flying lap. He started 8th, now battling for 9th. Here comes Smedegard.
Look at that. Smedegard going for Highcotter. Sorry to cut you off there, but really well done there by Smedegard. Highcotter almost gets into it there with Morrison. He holds on to it, but Smedegard gets the pass.
So much sideways lateral slides here in the infield, just trying to carry so much mid-corner speed, but Smedegard gets the job done up into 4th place over Highcotter, who won here twice last year. Now Morrison smells blood in the water as they tangle through the inner loop here.
I feel like you're going to get the Highcotter a little infuriated, and sometimes that kind of, when you drive angry, you drive a little more aggressively. Sometimes you make mistakes. We'll find out what I lovingly have called Highcotter the Bulldog. He's from Fresno, and the Bulldogs are Fresno State's mascot. So we'll see what lovingly the Bulldog can do as Smedegard does get that position in 4. Highcotter pushed back in 5th. But look at the gap between 1 and 2. It was down to the wire in that first race, and I think this is a testimonial to Tomo maybe running out of tire, as you said. You know, he stayed on his Bridgestones. Swenson, a lot of confidence in his corner.
Yeah, again, fresh tires for Jeremy, older tires for Tomo. He's on the Bridgestone RA71 RS. He was worried about the degradation he was seeing on the banking here in particular, being really rough on that tire, so it's certainly hurting Tom. Here comes Heitkotter trying the outside of turn 4. That ain't going to work. Morrison now tucks underneath. He might try to grab the spot. Here he goes, side by side through the infield. This is tight here, Jared.
Yeah, Heitkotter getting challenged, and he gets up onto the rumble strip. A tire goes up. That GT Radio on the front left, and the 9 Lives Racing vehicle looks like it tries to go for it, but Heitkotter using all of the course all the way up onto that curbing.
And a little bit of teammate on teammate back here. Myriad Motorsports cars doing battle, but that was extremely intense. Zach Lavoie inserting himself into this fight now, but doesn't have the legs on the straightaway versus the 2 V6 cars. V6 swap, a J swap from an Acura TSX in Morrison's car, and the 370Z has that VQ that is known and loved across the motorsports world.
Swenson absolutely dominant here, and you can see Heitkotter trying to pull away from Morrison.
Into the braking zone now for turn 3. Heitkotter, he's wide.
Whoa,
he blows the corner, grabs the cone, and here comes Morrison. Grabs one spot. Here comes Lavoie to take another, and Heitkotter slides out wide, grabs a cone, loses 2 spots in 1 turn.
What went wrong and what went south there for Heitkotter? It seemed that he just straightened out and finished out outside. We'll have to find out what
something's
happened.
Not quite right with that car. Doesn't seem like it's doing what he wants it to do behind the wheel. Heitkotter has history in pro racing. He comes also from an esports background where he's incredibly dominant. 2011 winner of a PlayStation championship in Gran Turismo, and certainly experienced on the racetrack in the real world, but struggling in this one. Myriad Motorsports teammates battling for 10th. That's Jorenstad and Felipe Gonzalez. The rest of the field straightened out now with about 5 minutes remaining in this one. Swenson continues to leg out his gap, but again, dominant weekends don't always end up that way. Swenson, the farther he goes out in front, remember, we're going to invert the field tomorrow anyway and requalify tomorrow morning. So it's not Swenson's weekend just yet, while he has been dominant so far.
Yeah, and you just see how spread out they are. I know, just this past weekend, I announced Cletus and Cars and the Bristol 1000, Bristol Motor Speedway, and we had a cameo at Stadium Super Trucks. They have a 15-lap race. Well, guess what? They re-rack them twice. They have 5 laps. They bunch them up.
Yeah.
They let them go again, and then they bunch them up again on the 10th or 11th lap.
Let's re-rack them every lap.
Right? Every lap. Okay, that's a little aggressive. But maybe every 5 minutes. I don't know. Just talking about format. The beauty of it is anything's up for conversation.
Certainly. There's Felipe Gonzalez, Jake Jorenstad, Myriad teammates, as we continue to watch that gap up front expand. Michael Hilo, though, in the red 350Z, closing in on those twin S2000s ahead of him. I think that's Wes Case behind him. And then Jeremy Boysen, I think, is that Tyler Starr, yes, in the BRZ, running 14th and 15th respectively, as they work their way past the start-finish line with 4 minutes remaining in the second race on the weekend. So again, the tire switch seems like for Swenson, it has done wonders to this Corvette. He has struggled all season to finish off races, and so far this weekend, he is the one to beat. I think that feels really, really good.
And we could see the Jensen father and son. They're currently 3rd and 8th. And we are taking a look at Swenson and that Viking Corvette.
And it's not sliding around as much either. It's much more planted.
Maybe tighten up the suspension a little bit, and with that fresh rubber, that's got to give him. Speaking of sliding around, holy cow.
Andy Smedegaard slipping and sliding that car, King of the Mountain winner from a couple of weeks ago. Autocross put that thing, he had a nitrous shot going into that engine, and it lived to tell the tale. Running the car without the nitrous here this weekend. Trying to get on the podium, needs to run down Eric Jensen in the 184. Here's Fiona Liu and Colton Wade side by side in the infield here. Wade again in his 2nd ever race in a front-wheel drive car, leaving plenty of space for Fiona. These two drivers having a blast right ahead of Peterson, a new driver here in GLTC.
Love the Mugen 99 livery. I'm an absolute sucker for that. Wade all the way back there in 18th, but a shout out for the graphics. Just love the black, gold, white, and red.
That car used to be Jeremy Boysen's. He sold that car earlier this year to Colton and the Fields Auto Works team, who were using it to grant scholarships to female drivers in the GRIDLIFE world. And while I think Alicia Keys, who is not running this weekend, used
Keys? I'm just kidding.
Used that car to get her GLTC license, and she's run a couple of rounds with us. So shout out to Lisa and to Fields Auto Works for starting that program, and excited to see where it'll go in the future.
just do the math here, about a minute per lap, and we are seeing 2:30 left. 2:30. That's what time you're going to the dentist, Kyle. You're going at 2:30. The number 12, that is Gonzalez. Great looking S2000. You know, it's funny, you talk about S chassis and drifting. S2000s are kind of this staple stallion that's in this chassis. But what's interesting, as you said, you know, different, you know, motor transplants and different things. That goes back to that adage of run what you brung.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a great starting platform for this series. And the ASM guys do a whole lot to him, but they have figured out a formula. Here comes Highcutter. Can he use the formula to get by the 42 of Zach Lavoie on the brakes into turn 3? Oh, he slides way wide out of turn 3.
He did it again, and that was a risky maneuver. You have to think that the brakes are just heating up, and he's getting that brake fade going to that corner. So that corner number 2, it's not a hairpin. It's a little looser than a hairpin. They're not. You got to carry that speed, kind of cut the apex and go in, but trying to take that tighter line. What do you got?
How about Zach Lavoie missing that? Just jammed on the brakes and let Highcutter slide out of the way. That was a really impressive move.
Yeah, I'm going to slide to those DMs right over here.
I wonder if Highcutter's got ABS issues. They've been chasing that for a long time. In the past, you would see the car locking up. It's not locking up. It's just not slowing down very well. So that braking system is certainly not quite where they need it to be yet. Highcutter seeming like he lacks confidence in the brakes, and I wouldn't blame him. That thing is not slowing down very
much.
A
lot of talent in the paddock of CFR. You know, Chris Forsberg, you know, or Forsberg Racing, excuse me, Forsberg Racing vehicle, and his camp. You know, they come primarily from the drifting world, but obviously a lot of technology and builds and what they're looking for here to execute, you know, in GLTC. And Highcutter's obviously entrusted them, and they've brought on a Highcutter, you know, from an e-racing standpoint, as you said as well. But Swenson, look at that, gaining some more ground, a Grand Canyon of a gap. 3 minutes between Swenson and Tomo. That was a lot closer on lap 1, but as you said, just because he wins race 1 and 2 does not mean the weekend is just going to be that dominant from the Vikings.
Certainly the car is going to be advantageous because of that power there. You mentioned the white flag, the final 1.3 miles of Friday GLTC action as Swenson sails through the banking. He was not confident in the way his car was taking that bump, but he looks very solid right now. Down the backstretch for the final time, 3.5 seconds clear of second place O'Gorman.
All right, so we are about halfway through this. You say 1.2?
1.2, 1.3 as we watch Peterson and Boyson, a couple front-wheel drive cars, RSX versus Civic here, doing battle on the final lap. They've actually got 1.5 left to go as they work their way through the infield section. Fiona Liu cleared them for 18th place. Colton Wade still running around in 19th. Again, Colton Wade is such a happy guy. He's always happy to be on the racetrack. Not the car that he chose to race here this weekend, but that's the hand he was dealt.
Yep.
But Jeremy Swenson, for the second time this weekend, and for the second time in a very long time, he will come out of turn number 9 at PPIR, and Swenson victorious again in the Viking Performance G-Speed Corvette. Gets it done 2 for 2 at PPIR.
Well done by Swenson. He gets the lead in 3.495 seconds later. We'll see Tom O'Gorman bringing in second, Jensen getting third, and that's going to take quite a bit of distance there, 10 seconds, and then Smedegaard just a few seconds behind. But you could see just how dominant these vehicles are, the ASM vehicles. You know, a few out there in contention.
Actually, Smedegaard snuck in there and stole the
podium.
podium.
He stole third, my bad.
Yeah.
We're looking at, you know, obviously the transponders, and look at that. Smedegaard jumps up to third. There's Tom O'Gorman. Give credit where credit is due, and it was a clean race. You know, we talked about, you know, getting up in the mix, and again, it seemed that Tom's stance was, look, the only way I'm going to win this race is if I get that first lap.
Right, and Tom knows exactly what he has to do, and I think right now with the tires that Swenson has in O'Gorman's car, again, at altitude, it's not going to be as good here as it has been in other events. I think Tom's doing a stellar job with the hand he's got, but for Jeremy Swenson, again, this is his 4th win of the season. The previous 2 came at COTA in February. This is a good trend for him to continue doing what he's doing. Again, mathematically, not eliminated from the championship just yet.
There he is.
He's got the 3 out the window for his dad there. Again, the story I told you earlier, his father, you know, they used to share weekends running cars on the dirt.
$100 cars.
Number 3 was the number always plastered on the side. He's got 3 out the window right now. Again, an homage to his father, and really, really cool to see.
Some great racing here, Kyle.
And
again, just going into it, you know, kind of loosening things up. And I think the format going into the inverted and then taking the top 10 and re-racking them. But 11th through 25th They're going to hold their position, but then we'll get those top 10, have that top 10 shootout, and see where they land one and done as far as where they're going to start for tomorrow's third race.
Yeah, certainly. So really Swenson all the way through Heitkotter. Now Heitkotter with that slip up, he almost slipped out of the top 10 shootout. Now
he almost should have done that.
Well, maybe not, because at least you'll get a chance to requalify.
Oh, that's true, huh?
So there's Jeremy Swenson again, top of the board. Tom O'Gorman, Smedegaard, Jensen, Morrison, Lavoie. Jackson Jensen, Steniford, Gonzalez, and Brian Heitkotter. Again, had Heitkotter slipped to 11th, he wouldn't have a shot to start any better than his finishing position. So Jake Jorgenstad on down. This is where these drivers will start for tomorrow's race number 3 tomorrow morning. Fiona Liu, Colton Wade, Brandon Peterson had an epic scrap there for 18th. And sometimes I say, Jared, that despite how good winning feels, sometimes battling door to door with your homies and not hitting each other, that's sometimes the most fun battle that anybody has.
Exactly. So here we are with race 2. Today's action, both on track and in the main stage. We got Vovoka, Harper, Cliff Diver, Avoid. Xavier Wolf is performing City Morgue and Trippy Red this evening. Just giving you, if you're not in the building, but if you are, that's what's going down. Check your phone for the schedules. But again, 8:50 is when we are going to be next here on the stream. Night Shift Drift. That's a 30-minute session. We'll see if we get all 30 minutes, but some tires burning, some lasers, some lights. It's all going down. But again, if you're joining us for GLTC, that action continues tomorrow as well. But Kyle, go ahead.
Tom O'Gorman's in pit lane with Cerise.
All right, guys, I'm here with Tom O'Gorman. Tom, you just came in second place. You have had a killer season. You've been on a real winning streak. What do you think happened out there, and what would you have done differently?
Well, Jeremy does an amazing job. Jeremy does an amazing job at every track. We have the good fortune of having really great cars at probably 8 of the 10 tracks we go to, and I would say Jeremy doesn't have that versatility as much as we do. So when we do come to a track where Jeremy's car is great, you can see how good of a job he does. I'm also just stoked. It looks like Andy's got his car figured out. He moved up a bunch of spots. Zach had a great race. I don't expect to see much different for the rest of this weekend, but I can't complain. I mean, we've had so much success, and I can't thank Hawk enough for getting me good breaks. I'm still really the best car in the 3, I think. But other than that, yeah, it's just fun.
That race was so much fun to watch. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Cerise. And yeah, Tomo, he's got, a smile on his face finishing second. That's rare, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right.
He's a competitive guy. And yes, he was on a podcast last week, DJ Alessandrini, talking about the grace of losing, right? Mm-hmm. And second place, there's still so much good that comes out of that. And Tom, I'm happy for him to be running this well and consistently. And yes, and I love that he started that with, he goes, Jeremy is doing a great job. And that's the difference between this series.
Little backhanded, though. I'm just going to call time out there. He says, look, out of the 10 tracks, we got 8 8 out of 10. But you saw those stickers on his A-pillar, you were pointing it out.
Yep.
That's where the confidence comes from. And rightfully so. And he says Hawk Performance, ASM and the whole team, and Tom is very talented. And because this is the second to last race, what's it called?
The penultimate.
The penultimate. The penultimate bout. That's what's going down here. But a lot of things to be excited about. Interesting format going into tomorrow. But again, a lot of confidence in Tomo's corner. But congratulations, Swenson, holding up the 3, baby. That's for his pops, and I love it. And it's really cool to see the variety. Run what you brung in GLTC.
We're holding up a 3 for race number 3 tomorrow morning for GLTC. But we're not done streaming yet. We're going to go down on YouTube for a little while and on Twitch and Facebook. But Night Shift Drift, about 8:40 Mountain Time. That's the fun tonight. Lasers, drift cars, smoke. And it's going to be a blast, Jared. I can't wait.
Yeah, literally and figuratively. So thank you so much for joining us. Kyle, close it out, man.
All right, we're going to finish it out. We'll be back with you Night Shift Drift later tonight, 8:30. We'll see you there. Coverage of GRIDLIFE Alpine Horizon is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GRIDLIFE, and by Momo. Made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors. Let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR. And by K&N. Performance Unlimited.
more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little...
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some...
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting... the wedding. She's getting married, so...
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
Those who don't settle when others do. For those who are set free by performance and believe innovation can take you anywhere.
Ed Vance here, and I'm at my favorite place again.
Sorry, did you say your name is Ed Vance?
That's me.
Like advance?
Crazy, right? And it just so happens he knows everything in advance.
Oh, you know the future? Did you know I needed 10W30?
No. I just know everything here in Advanced Auto Parts, like where the 10W30 is.
So you don't know what I'll do next?
Actually, I do. You will be going to the oil aisle.
He's good.
He's Ed Vance.
I spent a lot of time here.
He's here a lot.
This is how we advance.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
At 303, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.